Ready for public input? All right, I'll hold that open for 30 minutes. Anybody comes along, we'll allow them to speak at that time. First up, only up. 2025-26 budget work session. Facilities is first. What? You want to go over salary and benefits?
Yeah. So on page 1, Tony, did you want to know how many people were signed?
If you could, yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Should I wait a second for you?
Yeah, we're up for 70 feet.
I don't want to start rambling out numbers.
It's all right. I forget quick too.
Okay.
Right.
So district-wide maintenance salary, the first one is 3 full-time. Elementary school 4. Middle school 5. High school 4.5. And 1 for the last one,
All full time.
except for the 4.5. District-wide custodian salary. Typically what I do for that one, as you can see, it's kind of been inching up between the fiscal year end 23 and 24. But when we had our meetings this year, we decided that now that that department is fully staffed, we should hopefully need less custodians. So we reduced it back to what we currently budgeted for this year. And I think when I did the average, I think it was only about 60,000. So we cut about 10. District-wide custodial overtime, that's an average of 3 years. And then after that, you have all your benefits. Bottom of page 1 is health insurance. 2, 3, 4, and 5, dental all the way down to Social Security. And page 3 wraps it up with repairs. And if there's no questions on that, I'll turn it over to Todd.
All right, we'll start off with the maintenance workshop line. You want to go line by line?
Highlights. Yeah, if something's, significant increase, decrease, go to time.
Get right in with a bang then. The first increase is the district-wide trash and recycling.
Did you turn the page? Because I have a question on page 3.
Nope, that's at the bottom of page 3.
Okay.
That was my.
Yeah, I figured it out after I looked down. Go ahead. My bad.
All right.
Thoroughly.
District-wide trash and recycling is going up from 0 to 42,339.
So it's the 30,968 plus the 11,040.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Say that again?
066. 11,000. We had 11,040 to it.
To the 3968.
Yeah, because
Yes.
You have
recycle,
to add 11,000 to it.
recyclable. Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were giving the New Balance. The New Balance didn't make any sense to me.
Where's the plus 11,000?
Yeah. It's not in there.
It's not in there. So when I did it, I took the letter that you guys went over last week from the town and I took the 30. I did not realize that the recycling was a separate amount. So I do have to add that in.
The total is 41,106 for both.
41,968.
I don't know, because I didn't come up with either one of those.
I'm just going based on the letter from
Yeah.
the cover letter yesterday said 41,106.
41,106.
Okay.
And I added to the wrong number. That's
And I had 42,008.
Can we get 12?
I'm gonna go with the 41,106.
Is that really that's not really gonna change?
Well, for now, it's not. Might change next week or 2 weeks.
We have to budget for it until we find out otherwise.
Guessing we have to go out for a bid on this.
Mm-hmm.
We would, because right now they have a contract, so yeah.
How is that gonna work out if either of you?
Guess we got to see if the town still has the contract, how long their contract is. We have to take a look at that. That's a good.
So You see, I hear the can opening and I don't really want to open it, but if they have a contract and they're not servicing us anymore, do we have to use their contract? Would we go out for bid on our own?
Those are all questions I'm gonna have to ask. I don't know what their contract says, how it reads. A lot of times I've dealt with, back in my days with Nottingham and Barrington, you gotta be real tricky because they'll say, if you don't even let us know within the first year, they'll just renew it automatically. So I just stuff I gotta read and do some research on.
Thank you.
Yeah, one would hope an entity that doesn't have nothing to do with us can't.
We would hope, John, but I'm also not a fool to sit there and say.
Oh, I know.
100%.
Anyways,
And there are lots of new companies going with the trash business.
I see them around.
Trash Can Willie is all kinds of.
Right.
thank you, Todd.
Yep, next you have, contract services a little bit. Those are just contracts we have for different PM agreements and things like that. Mostly that's high because we picked up the high school technical agreement, whereas the high school technical agreement did not exist because it was brand new, boiler controls and all the controls were put in. Remember, that was a new system. They owned it for a year.
Okay.
So that's,
Before we go on after that, and I didn't know where to ask the question. I remember that we had conversation at length about biomass and everything else. And that we were gonna be probably having to, like, $2,000 worth of my memory to maintain that on a yearly basis. And did we say we were gonna be doing that internally or contracted?
we're going to be doing as much internal PM and as much internal service as possible.
Thank you.
In our maintenance department contract now exists oil service, so that month I'm gonna slide over into the next plan, but we'll be doing that.
The preventative maintenance.
Maintenance, the weekly, the month-to-month stuff that has.
All right, thank you.
Myself and my guys. More likely my guys. All righty. The next real big line is a construction services line.
Could you go back to,
Yes.
sorry. Under lawns, grounds care, Todd, if you could refresh my memory. Are there any, is there any property that we own that we don't actually cut the grass?
Yes.
And where is that?
We do not cut the grass on the middle school fields.
The town does that for us and they've maintained, I don't know what the terms is, but in essence, they fertilize and such.
They fertilize, yeah, they fertilize it, they cut it. They stripe it, anything has to be done to those fields, we won't touch the field.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The construction service line, that's the lease payment with the EI project.
Is there a reason why we just don't put lease for whatever?
So I've reached out to some other people to find out what they've done to figure out where I'm supposed to put this.
Yep.
So those lines were already there. So for now, to make sure it's budgeted for, I've put it there. But I'm assuming it needs to go through, I'm trying to research the best possible place to do it.
For it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Between the functions and the object codes, like I really have to make sure it gets in the accurate place.
I mean, you just can't.
No.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So this is lease for exactly what?
The EEI project.
So what exactly is in the lease? The solar panels?
The solar-
or the furnaces?
I'll tell you,
All
we
of
have-
it.
I got it, we have LED.
The whole
solar-
thing.
LED solar space box controls for the middle school and for the high school. We have the biomass plant with boiler, with a LP boiler backup at the high school. Walk-in cool controls at both the middle and high, transformers, the middle and high, and the solar field at the high school, which will help service. It'll provide energy for the district, really. It's not getting fed directly to the high school, getting fed minus name back to the grid and it'll earn money that way.
I was just wondering, like, as far as the lease payment,
That's what that all covers, all the things Todd just
all the
listed.
things.
And then,
Okay, I thought we said it wasn't a lease for some reason at some point. Okay,
yeah, we've always discussed it as a lease. People have asked about whether it's a rental lease.
okay.
Just to clarify, Todd, and that maybe you said it, is the envelope of the two buildings or was that listed in there?
We do have, I'm sorry, yes, I missed a building envelope at the middle school,
Okay, thank you.
high school building envelope.
Thank you.
Just to clarify there too, that's a lease to own situation.
I don't know how it's considered, but after 20 years, it's ours.
Individual own the equipment.
Yeah, I don't know what the terminology
Right.
is.
Yeah, I think
but-
it's a semantics thing when you get into the law and the RSA that permits it. It's
But we're making payment, but so the only reason I asked it that way is because if folks think it's a rental, there's an implication that it needs to be somehow returned, but it's not.
Right.
It's something that we're purchasing that will stay, that will
Right.
hopefully outlive the 20 years.
Sure.
Well, I guess we'll come up to it in a second, but I'm guessing we'll see. I see some deductions here, but I'm gonna guess we'll see more deductions in electricity and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll get. Start actually with an addition. You're gonna see in the propane line, we've added in about 7,300 for the high school, that LP boiler backup.
Todd, do you want to tell them what page you're on? Page 6.
I'm on that.
You're on propane,
I guess.
500-621, the object code? For us, it's page 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we must have a different. printout.
Sorry,
Yeah, this is from you.
I think,
You don't have a
sorry,
school board translator?
sorry. I'll tell them what page.
That's what I said, Marjorie, print me out the same thing. Yes, we are on propane 561 high school. The addition of $7,315 for the LP backup.
Yeah. And that is intent, not only backup, but just like this time of year, as opposed to trying to start the biomass as we were explaining to, they would. Thank you.
It'd be similar to the way we run our small domestic boiler now. So during the non-heating season, we'll pick up domestic water and
Right.
things like that, but yes. All right, so we have electricity. You'll see two major deductions here. We have the high school electricity as well as community, which is really wrapped in the high school as well. Those have been basically taken away due to the electricity we get from solar field.
We do need to put a dollar amount
We
in
need
there.
a
Yeah,
dollar,
$1.
both of them, yeah,
We'll need to put what?
$1.
to keep the line open.
Oh, otherwise they'll shut the whole line down.
Correct.
We won't be able to
yeah,
operate.
you won't be able to
We
expend
just
money.
will.
Stop, but if you don't want the auditors to yell at me,
There was a
and then
deduction.
you could yell at me because the auditors yell at me.
Rolling blackouts.
We see a bigger
Rough
deduction
tangent.
at the middle school and the elementary, well, middle
No.
school at least.
You see a deduction at the middle school. It's down to 108, so that's what the remainder of the electrical deduction from the 116 savings from the solar went back into the middle school.
Now,
Go ahead, go ahead.
they haven't changed the lights yet at the middle school, have they?
No, they're about 70% through this building. And they're planning on 2.5 weeks to get over to the middle school to do that one.
So when they get to the high school, that's gonna be I'm gonna guess a large deduction in electricity as well.
They're almost done the high school.
You mean middle
I
school?
meant the middle school, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's this year's budget as well, so that's calculated in there. For next year, yeah, that'll be in there.
So is it that a little high then for the middle school electricity? If we're looking at, we haven't done the lights yet and
No, we have the middle school electricity was 3% over for actuals. Then we deducted out the 25K for the lights and it was 29 left over from the solar project. So that's where that deduction came from. So it includes all the 25K for the lights and the leftover from the solar.
Some of the deduction was already in the budget last year.
This year,
Do we include the oil that we're not buying to in that deduction?
That'll be coming up.
So last year when we did the budget,
I understand that,
we
but
took money out of
we
electricity.
haven't changed any of the lights out yet at the middle school. I'm guessing those will be done right after this. school.
These are already done, huh?
Yeah.
So
And then
should that go down even more in the 108 because we are gonna be saving
How they all
how
look.
much in light?
Yeah, electricity.
we only took out what they said that we were gonna be getting for a reduction.
We knew we were gonna do the lights this year.
Okay.
So when we did the budget, we took out last year, we took it out for this year, and that's carrying forward to next year. So you'll see the 157 or 2324,
No, I see the one.
so we cut that.
So why are we expecting it to go up by 5?
If we haven't changed the lights, I can't.
That I can't answer.
Wait a minute. Let's, okay, where are you specifically referencing?
Middle school electricity,
Okay. If you could,
157. That Joe was just mentioning is 23, 24 actuals. We reduce, Terry was saying in 24, 25 this year's budget because we knew we were changing stuff out. So it went to 103, which is, then we went up 5, but we're also going to be replacing. So I know we were expecting the lights, but I would sort of expect it to go even lower with less consumption. I know it's just a few thousand, but I'm just curious.
No,
go ahead.
so
You can go.
Okay, whatever. One of you.
So it was very tricky when we were working on this part of the budget.
Yeah.
One, because when we budgeted last year, we added the lease in, we subtracted the savings for the electricity and for the, for the electricity and oil, right? So when we prepared last year's budget, we added it in and we deducted where we were supposed to. When the budget committee cut our budget by the lease, they cut the lease, but they didn't add back in the electricity and the oil.
Oh,
Okay, so this year we're kind of already short. If we will be, I'm not sure. So then when we were looking at it for this year, I couldn't go by fiscal year 25 because those numbers are not accurate. And you can see the significant increases that we paid last year. So I said, okay, I'm going to take the 3% CPI because that's what we do every year for the electricity. I use the kilowatt hours and I average them for a 3-year, multiply it by the 3% increase. And then that's how we came up with it. And then we deducted the amount that we're supposed to be saving again.
okay.
So theoretically, when I'm looking at the high school line, that was supposed to be a negative number. I can't put in a negative number for electricity. So then we went and took the rest from the middle school. Right? Because I need to account for those savings somewhere.
Right.
And then the other thing that's going to factor into this is that there's probably about, I don't know, $10,000 still worth of rebates that we're going to wait to get, but we're not going to get them till 25, 26. But those are going to probably come in as a form of a revenue. But we don't know what those are going to be, if anything at this point. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Scares me because
I'm trying to make it as much sense as I can.
So when they cut the 234 and didn't add the money back in, that was basically like them cutting 400. What were you getting at? By not giving back the money that would have gone to the electricity.
So the amount for the lease that we had in last year was $317,000. And then I took almost $60,000 out of those lines because it wasn't supposed to be for an entire year. It was only supposed to be for a percentage of the year. So we only took that $60,000. So they deducted the lease, but they didn't take the difference. So we never added it back in.
so just because I think this is what you're asking. So in essence, they really took 377,000 off because we didn't get the 60 back.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was, okay.
Is that how that works?
Not really. Because they took out the 317. They didn't take out the savings that we had, and we're gonna realize most of that savings anyways this year. Right? I mean, the intent was the LED, if we, when we thought it was gonna be done, it was gonna be 50,000 for the year. And then we're gonna get appears, and I'll wait until, but regarding the solar array, hopefully we'll get some of that savings this year. And we'll talk about that, as Todd said.
Even if that is the case, though, I mean, it's worth noting that if that, in actuality, when they cut that money and didn't,
Mhm.
follow through because they didn't,
Yep.
Understand the whole process, that it was a much larger cut than.
All right. Before you go on, just to clarify, so the electricity, we do it as normal. We increased it, in this case, by 3% per CPI. And we started, you did start talking about the oil.
I will, no, Tony has.
You haven't started?
No, I
Okay, I'll
don't.
wait for my questions.
The wood chips come first.
Well, that's right, yes. Down at the bottom, yes, thank you.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
just to make sure I'm following. Our actuals for 23, 24 for expenditures on electricity were 386, 160.
Correct.
and we're only budgeting 204,000. So our projected savings from this project are already at 182,000 for the year. Just wanted to clarify.
No, that's fine. I'm all set. Go ahead, Todd.
Alright, well, we're not saying more, but I'll leave that alone. We'll move on. Um,
Oh, no,
Sorry, I jinxed us when we said we should go fast.
No, there's more. That's fine. That's good. Good job, Mike. Good. High school, so we added high school wood chips. That's for the biomass plant. We are estimating 200 tons at $165 a ton to come up to 33,000 for that budget.
You said 165 a ton?
Yeah.
Thank you. And is that that's budgeted for the entire year, right? Because we're gonna be fully involved by then, the hope?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that's for a year. Oil, we just did 3-year usage on the 50 over the current, which is 3.599. You can see same story at the high school. We've eliminated high school oil and community oil, which is essentially the high school building itself.
I have to add $1 on each line.
Yeah. We're just gonna add all each line. We are only left with elementary school and middle school oil.
And it's interesting, I don't remember having the conversation, but safe to assume that the wood boiler is saving us significant money, wood chips versus oil.
Yes, the biomass plant with the LP backup is on the to save 29,000.
But in reality, it's more than that, just by comparing what we budgeted for this year, the current year, you know? And that's all I was looking at was the 65 and the ballpark 85 for those two lines and 24, 25 versus the 33.
33 plus the propane.
That's right. I forgot about that part. Thank you.
And the liability of that tank in the ground is gone. So that's also,
The liability of
the
what?
tank, the oil tank in the ground.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Spill wood chips.
Well, they don't soak into the drinking water.
We'll just grab a broom.
I love God, we can spill wood chips.
My new shirt.
And
All right.
so that's, sorry, that's reduced because of the new wood burning.
Correct. We will no longer be using oil as a fuel source for the high school.
I'm just clarifying facts.
Hmm.
That's all.
It's a good question.
Let's see, the next big line is you'll see middle school replacement equipment. This is for a single scrubbing machine that we used to do all the floors. That's the original one since we did the building. The main machine we used to scrub all the floors. It's just the cost of a new machine. No different, no better, no bells and whistles, just the same thing. It's just that's what it costs. That's in the replacement equipment line, probably on your page 7500735.
8.
8, but that's okay.
You're close.
Sorry.
I got it.
Anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
At this point, all right. Any questions? Yes, I know. Any questions, comments about the budget? We're going to get to the SRO in a minute, but go ahead, Bill.
So right now, if we just take the electricity that we've saved from 23, 24 to now, and how much we're spending on the lease, like we said about $60,000 a year, just taking those, not even the oil, we're already at 76,000. So just taking the oil, we're gonna probably be under $60,000 a year between the savings and the lease. And that's, you don't even know what the solar panels are
Right.
gonna take out.
So-
Could be more than what we're projecting.
So I was doing similar math. I actually have us close to, this is after spending the 33,000 on the wood. To subtract out from the oil we're saving 93,000 on oil. So we're saving $242,970 between electricity and oil. The way I have it. We had budgeted 386 and now we're doing 204 for the electricity. We had budgeted 182 for oil and now we're budgeting 93. That adds up to 275,970. Add in reduce that by the 33,000 we have to spend on wood. the savings is now 242,970. I'm sure there's a couple things I'm missing.
$8,000.
Already broke even. on-
Okay.
So essentially the payment is a break even.
Well,
It costs us about $6,000, $8,000.
the big thing we have to remember is we have to wait for actual.
Our
You know what I'm-
estimates at this
No,
point
I
is that
understand,
the
but-
project is paying for itself, but we're getting a ton of value. That's just based on the budget we have in front of us, right?
Oh, we'll still have to contribute to the police payment out of. budget.
Yeah, but not,
There is a guaranteed savings, so yeah, it's all in
Yeah.
the matrix.
All right, you want to go over the SRO, Todd?
Sure, yes, I propose an initiative, here with you guys for a full-time SRO at the high school, and by full-time, I mean full-time, we follow the student schedule, so the SRO would essentially be here every single day or hour the students are here. They would not work during the summer, they would have vacation weeks, they'd take the same days off. The SRO would be, employee of the Raymond Police Department, they would be basically subcontracted to the Raymond School District. What that does is it allows us to have 99.9% control over this person's schedule. So, like I said, there are times they'd be here when the kids are here. This person would not be pulled by the police department due to their staffing issues or their concerns in town, unless there was some major catastrophe, which we agree they would have to go respond to. As of right now and in the past years, the current SRO is shared between the three buildings. She does not follow the school schedule. Her days shift and rotate. They've been creative while trying to make it work. They have staffing issues, so she's currently not here. I believe on Fridays all day, and she bounces between the schools. Now, it's my belief that having a full-time SRO at the high school is a great preventative measure. I think that it doesn't need to be talked about, beaten with a dead horse, but how much it's needed. Our go-to, no matter what happens in the school districts, in any situation that arises anywhere above a normal day, is to what? We do what? We call the police, we have a police station outside. It's great for that day. The next day it goes away, we're back to our normal things. Next time something arises, what do? We call the police, they stand here for a day. This essentially puts that person here every day also. It also allows them to really fulfill the role of an SRO. The SRO is more than just a person on site with a weapon to deter bad things from happening. This person is supposed to be infiltrated with the student body, getting to know the norms, getting to know the kids get to know them. That way they can recognize signs, recognize things ahead of time. The students feel comfortable going to them. And like I said, they're here all the time. With an SRO who's not here all the time and shared between the buildings, that role is really not as effective as it should be. I think the cost is a great preventative measure. I also think if something bad were to happen, we'd have this next thing. So this is just a preventative thing that I think is very important for the students and the staff. Anyway, I think would go a long way with the safety and morale of the building.
Go ahead, Tony.
Do you want to-
Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
Tony?
Oh, I was wondering, does the SRO have an office in the building currently?
Do they currently have an SRO?
Yes, downstairs.
Sometimes she bounced around. I wasn't sure if she had an office here.
And, yeah, I went to Salem High School and they had one. The guy was huge too, and everybody loved him, and it was a great thing for the school.
Anything else? Go ahead.
That doesn't stop, the SRO we have now from going to the middle school and high school. It's not a swap, right?
It's not a swap. The way we set up, that would be status quo. She would just be shared between the other two schools.
So increasing her ability to,
To be between those two.
We would have two technically.
One from us, one,
Who was signed to the school.
yeah.
so do we pay the current one for the hours they're here, or is
No.
that just?
No, we don't pay for it at all. That's why we have no control of it.
Go ahead.
You know, we talked about this 4 years ago, 5 years ago, somewhere around there, a while ago. And I know we decided against it back then. I think I wouldn't say the climate now. I think now when something pops up as much, we kind of go from 1 to 100. a lot quicker than we did even 4 years ago. It was, and, I don't want to see what happened before. We don't need to pull every kid out of school, have their kids stay home because I mean, I know how kids will try to get around certain things later on if they keep getting into that, so. I think there's a treasure there now.
And this isn't a one size fits all guarantee of any kind, but we have many, many reactive measures in place. We have many, many proactive measures. It's just another proactive measure that holds a lot of weight.
And there are things that a police officer can do that staff here cannot, as far as reacting to these situations.
100%.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cindy.
I just wanted to comment that this was brought up. I think I was on the board when it was brought up before. And it didn't.
We had it here last year.
Oh, year
I believe
It was a year ago.
I think it's a good idea personally. If you're gonna have kids in a big building, it's good to have, something like this.
I do have a question. Why is Medicare, Social Security not put in the line for the pay?
That's not a right question. We've got these numbers. I got these numbers from the town
CBA.
person who does all the finances. I think it has to do with the amount of hours or something. But I questioned her every year we've done it, and she says, yes, that's accurate. So I'm just trusting that's the number they don't want to check.
Okay. Be all set? Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Next up, Lamp River Elementary School, Amy.
I will.
Amy gets up here.
Because I'm just gonna go over the staffing.
Where did she go?
I think she just went to the restroom.
You nervous? That show, Terry, we're getting.
There you go, babe.
Yeah. What are we doing? I know Amy's.
I didn't know she wasn't out here.
No, did I?
So I walked on, I'm like, hey, can we wait till she sits down? And they're like, oh, she's in the restaurant. Okay.
I just
The
wanted
staff
to,
number.
yeah, thank you.
First one is 1. 1. 1. 1. 23. 2. 2.
One.
1.
One.
And then the bottom one is the elementary school team leader salary, and that is 6 at 2,500.
6.
The elementary school
There
co-curricular,
you go. In the enrollment projections, and I bring it up now just because we're on the salary. 24, 25, it shows only 5 kindergarten teachers, but we're now at 6. I realize that we haven't got a person there yet, but in budget purposes,
I have budgeted a kindergarten teacher in there.
it's at 6. My question is, where is that on the line through
It is with the 23.
in the 23? So we've
Yeah.
got, what is it, 6 kindergartners? Teachers, I mean, not kindergartners. Well, budget purposes, we do, right?
I don't keep track of them by grade. I just keep track of them
I understand.
per person.
I just was getting clarification of what I,
Can I also,
Absolutely.
the presses, we just had a family come in and register 1 kindergartner and 1 third grader for.
okay. Go ahead, Marjorie.
Your co-curriculars are in the binder. Elementary school nurse salary, that's 1. Elementary school nurse aide salary, that's 1. Secretary salaries, 3. Page 2, elementary school. Elementary school substitute salary, that's a 3-year average. And then everything after that is health, dental, life, disability. Page 4 is retirement, social security, and page 5 wraps up the retirement and reimbursements.
It'd be a real pain.
Go ahead.
So obviously at every school, people opt to insurance buyout or whatever.
Mhm.
Do you have it broken down by chance by school? How many people in from each?
I don't. And that goes under the district-wide budget, which we went over yesterday with the health insurance stipends. Basically, once I'm done putting everybody on which lines they have to go to, I create a separate spreadsheet and I delete everybody that doesn't have health insurance. And then I sort them by teacher, support staff, or wage pool.
Okay.
Good, Joe.
All right, so right now, we have 6, I know we're missing one right now, 6 kindergarten teachers, 5 first grade teachers, 5 second grade, 5 third grade teachers. Where's the 23?
It's the, probably just the way that's broken out.
Yeah, 5, 10, 15, 6 more is 20.
No, I mean, not that. I just thought the budget, but it doesn't appear to be that way. You're right. 23 doesn't seem to be right.
It's 21.
It's 20 what?
It would be
21.
for currently.
Well, with getting at, she's
Oh, you said 23.
I got that from Marjorie.
That's what's in the next.
Okay. I thought you said I said, and I'm.
No.
I say a lot of things,
I
but
mean, I'll have to go over with the staff listing, I guess, tomorrow with Amy, but I basically send everybody a staff listing, make sure I'm not missing any vacancies that we have.
They might be counting the SEL teacher and leaps and bounds teacher, but they're not classroom.
SEL would be classroom, so that's 22.
And then that's leaps and bounds is a classroom.
Oh, this year, because, yep,
So
23.
22.
but we just gotta make sure we do our sped. The case managers are reduced by 2. Right?
not first.
Right, I don't.
Well, they're regular ed teachers right now, so that would get us to 23. So I just want to make sure when we're going over the case managers, that number's accurate. So that's explains the 23. It's
What explains the 23? I missed that.
leaps and bounds teacher, the teacher in the leaps and bounds room, and the teacher in the pond,
And they're
the SEL teacher.
they're considered K to 3.
Yes,
What's the other one called?
leaps and bounds,
And I got that.
pond, SEL, and
I know that one better than the pond. It wasn't the pond, but I like it
Yeah.
better.
Page 1.
we went back.
Back in time.
I think that gets us to 23.
That makes sense.
I'm still gonna send you a staff listing tomorrow. If you don't mind. Thank you.
So we're on page 4, is that right?
Page 5.
5, so. I'm going by Todd's book. That's my address. No, we are on page. Yeah, sure.
So do I pick up on page 6?
Yep, about halfway down.
Halfway down page 5, right?
Yeah, well, I can help Amy. So, there's tuition, no change. There's workshop, no change. Admin conference, no change. Amy,
Terry,
top of 6.
we didn't.
Bottom of
Just
5.
ran through the bottom of 5.
He just ran through 5. Are you guys on 6?
3 through 5.
No.
Yeah, there's nothing on 5 that's,
That was 5.
Everything was things.
That one sense.
Don, do you have any questions on 5?
I'm good. Yeah, I just didn't hear anybody say that we were going over principal administration or administration conference or contractor professional development. So when we said we went over, I didn't hear that.
I did.
That's what he just did.
I said,
You said no change.
okay, no changes in any of that stuff. So
So then if we pick up, we have, no change for nurses repairs. There is a change with communications, but that,
we covered that last night, so we're not any more pleased than we were last night.
Copper wire, yeah.
I have a question about field trip. It's at 3,600.
Yep.
Ballpark, how many?
that is 2 per grade level.
So 8? Okay, thank you.
So then postage is the same for the last 3 years. Office printing is the same.
Have we recently relooked at what we're mailing out? Is it everything that we have to? I'm gonna ask, I'll be consistent with everybody.
We're very consistent and we do look at it.
Thank you. Yeah, I just worry about.
Yep.
Sometimes things creep in.
We try to be very consistent
Thank you.
and thoughtful. In our general supplies, you will see that there's very small changes that happened. Let's see, it's 111-00118. Gen Ed supplies went down, and that's a calculated price per pupil. And because our pupil size or our population size is going down, that's a calculated size. So Marjorie tells us what that number
Yep.
is.
Could you tell us that?
Yep, 4406.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
However, you'll see that the nurse supplies line has gone up slightly. And nurse supplies, that's everything from disposable paper cups, pain relievers, blood pressure cuffs, anesthetics, toothpaste, and it just keeps on going. Every year we go slightly over and we have to take money from another account and bring it over. And so this year we just thought we'd be smart and make it go up a little bit. And similarly, our office supply line has gone up just slightly. And again, that is just because the cost of materials is more expensive and we thought we'd be smart and just make it be what we do our spending, what we're spending. You're gonna notice that what the librarian is requesting, the ES Media Books has gone up a little bit. And every year there's a slight increase, and that is just to keep pace with what the cost of industry books are, and also to account for shipping and posting. If you come over onto page 8, under software, it's ES guidance software. This is the one item that is new here, and it's $2,400. We are using a program called Fly 5 for our SEL, and this is a course that is taught by our 2 counselors. And this money was paid by a grant, and that grant is no longer covering the cost. So that is why that cost is right there for $2,400. ES Media software is staying the same. The bed coming slightly down. Replacement furniture is the same. And I believe as we move on to page 9, everything else is the same. Yes,
Go ahead,
I have
Cindy.
a question. The media software, what does that include?
certainly. I have it right here. We have 4 programs. We pay for Brain Pop, Mystery Science, Pebble Go, and Flowcabulary. Mystery Science is really the backbone of our science program, and it's also used at the middle school, and it is aligned with NGSS standards. So that's pretty widely used. Brain Pop it covers all different, you can use it for SEL, social studies. Pebble Go is very much used. It is age appropriate research. So it is very attainable, very colorful. And they use it for research about animals, about social studies. And then Flowcabulary is about vocabulary, but they have lively videos and very entertaining for the kids, but it's a way for them to get into learning words in an accessible manner. It's very popular also like grades 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm assuming, I don't know this, but I bet the middle school uses it as well.
I have another question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So would these be things that are used as extra, or are they used like during instruction?
That's a great question. The Mystery Science is used, if they're teaching science, they're using Mystery Science. That's just a given. Pebble Go is used often as the library, and if they're doing any research, again, about animals, the social studies, that's used all the time. I would say Brain Pop and Flowcabulary are used more to augment, not as the basis.
So do the teachers like assign these, or is this like if when they have free time, they can go and do access it if they want?
A little bit of both. I've seen teachers use it. let me see, if they're teaching something about forces in motion, or they're teaching about gravity, or they're teaching about respect, they could go under Brain Pop, and there's a video, and there's these characters that are very familiar, and they can project it up. There's even lessons, and the kids can do it. So we have something called Clever, which is our single sign-on. So you can have lessons that the kids do themselves, or you can just project it up and everybody, so it's whole group. So it depends on what they want. The Pebble Go, that would be a student would access it themselves. They get really excited because they get to see them favorite animals, and they get to research, and they're looking at things themselves. And either the youngest learners get really excited because the pictures are so engaging, the keywords are so engaging. You can press a button and it reads it to you. So even if they're pre-reading, they still can get engaged.
So do you have, is this like a yearly type thing we have?
It's a yearly subscription, and just so that you know I'm new.
Yeah.
I have asked to have a account so that I'm the manager of all the accounts, so that I can look to see if these are new. So it's new for me to figure out, and so I'm going to be taking the pulse of that. So I'll be monitoring it, and if they're not being used, then next year when I come along, they won't be here. They
Yeah.
won't be on the list.
And is there any way that you can break it down as to how much each one is, or is it all in one package?
Oh, no, I could. Yes, I don't have those numbers in front of me, and I'm sorry that I
That's
don't,
okay.
but I can. I can tell you exactly.
Yeah.
If you like that, I can get that. to
Marjorie.
Marjorie, do you have it?
I can put that in.
Sometimes Marjorie.
Yep, I'm gonna look really quick to see if I have it actually.
Go ahead.
So I know that these are fun and exciting to do on video, but do you do like any research with, say, encyclopedias or books? Do they also do that
Oh, they do.
separately?
They do. They do. However, I would say that, I'm not sure if you're aware, they don't really update encyclopedias anymore. They do not print them because it's so expensive to print an encyclopedia. So the only way to access an encyclopedia right now is online. And that's how World Book and Britannica are now. So if you're wanting to look at a print encyclopedia, World Book are all online. So that's just the way
Yeah,
the world is.
I like the older set. I have an older set, but
I know.
I think they're
I
fine,
know,
but
and that's great for some things that have changed, but the things that have changed.
All set, Cindy?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for, Amy about what's covered so far? All right, if you could go to the enrollment part, please. You want to cover that, please? Go over what you got.
So the projected enrollment with NESDEC for kindergarten is 72,
And how many teachers?
5.
Okay,
For grade 1, it is now 89 because we just added one more. So that would be if we have 5, it would be 18, 18, 18, 18, and 17. Grade 2 is 72. And I don't quite know why I did it this way, but 14, 16, 15, 13, 14,
so 5 teachers.
5 teachers currently.
Okay, and your logic for 5 when the policy says we could be at 18 each?
Following what has been there.
Okay,
In grade 3, 17, 18, 16, 16, 15. And it's 82.
so we've got 20 teachers K through 3 for next year, where we have 21 currently. Where's the reduction for that one? Huh?
Retirement. We wouldn't be replacing the retirement.
We have a retirement.
So we're just not replacing the retired teacher,
Correct.
and the other teacher, the 21st, will fill the spot of that teacher. Okay. I don't understand the logic, Terry, of 72 students in 2nd grade and having 5 teachers, well below where we want to be.
kind of learned my lesson last year when I was doing cuts and everybody put them back. I just figured the board could decide what they would want to do.
Anything else for Amy?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is the behavior improving first and second grade? I mean, there's a reason why we have more teachers there, because we've had some rough students the last couple of years. Are they improving?
Our current first grade, which is going to be next year's second grade, our current first grade has some very high behaviors. And we're working really hard to help them.
The reason why is, I mean, numbers can look great, but when you have a student that, you know, I think our parents think we can just get people out of school every day. We can't do that. We're not allowed to. I mean, we have to come up with ways to help the students and stuff like that. But even if a student once a week sits there and we have to take, you know, move him or move the class somewhere, you're disturbing an entire class. And now you're disturbing even more students. Because now you might have kids that are having issues in that class, so it might happen twice as much. I know that happened with my daughter when she was in fourth grade there, and it takes a lot of time out of learning for the students who want to be there and learning to learn. And I think if we, I don't know, I think just taking for the sake of numbers isn't exactly the best way to go all the time, so.
Well, I would, being the person that mentioned, never once characterized that it's about numbers. It's logic behind why it got to 18, which was done 15 or so years ago. And I look at it as you've got to support the academic and behavior, but you also need have people to vote for it, the operating budget. And if we don't get that, then we get a default. We did that in 21. We survived, but it's not something you want to repeat. We also have teachers' contract that I'd like to pass. For me, it's my personal #1 priority. We also have CRF, and we also have the general fund, 400,000 going back to maintenance potentially. So to look at it is to say it's just a number, not an accurate statement. There's more involved in it, and people need to be able to afford what we're asking for. And if we're going to go to the trough of 75 cents per thousand where we are right now, plus the contract, plus CRF, I don't see things passing, but that's where I stand. Anyways.
I understand you're saying, your logic on that. But what I'm saying is that, unless you may not have certain people vote for it, but if we lose 3 students because they're not getting what their parents believe they should be getting at an elementary school, because they're getting pushed out of the class every other week or every week, because we're dealing with a student, or we're sitting there having to take the student out of district afterwards because we're not allowed, we can't sit there and do it. We're paying even more money in the long run. But one teacher might look great now, but it might actually cost us more later.
There's an opportunity cost. A lot of times we don't talk about the what else is lost when you cut the budget by a person, because you know, the numbers, to your point, John, I understand what you're saying, but there's the other side of it, all the stuff Joe just said, so I won't say it all again, but that there's the tangential cost to the other students. The one student might be the disruptor. Is my daughter's having an issue right now, and her classroom is behind the other classrooms because there's a student that needs more support. And that student should be getting the support they need, but that person's having an impact on the teacher, having an impact on the other students. And if you increase class sizes, it makes it that much harder. Even a student that's not having significant issues, if just a kid has a bad day, you're just affecting that many more kids. And the ecological disruption, I think, to Joe's point, costs a lot more. I will also say that the the second grade projections are 72, but the first grade, the next first grade, which will be the following year's second grade, is at 89 and just went up one, or 88 and went up to 89. So the next year, we'd likely have to bring another teacher back in. And so,
Okay, that's easily accomplished by hiring. But anyways, anything, did you have something, Tony?
well, easily.
I know, I just kind of wanted to add to what Steve was saying, where, you know, my daughter's having similar issues where it's a matter of if they have to clear the classroom 2, 3, 6 times a week, whatever it has to end up being. I'm not saying it's that many times, but that's all times where these kids are not able to get their instruction because they're waiting for an incident to be resolved. And, yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I guess what I didn't say, what I wanted to add on to is to your point about people have to be able to want to afford it and vote for it. But we also have to have people who want to vote for a safe, stable, supportive school. So yes, the monetary support and need to be able to afford the monetary is absolutely, I understand, salient to everybody. But we also have to have people who want to send their kids here. To Joe's point, if they don't feel that their kids can get what they want, then we lose more students every year. And we need people who want to send their kids here to vote for it too. And those folks are the ones who are currently looking at this going, why are you not supporting my kid? Why are we cutting teachers when we have issues? So there's a wide spectrum of desires for folks who are voting. That's all.
Do we, have any other grades where this is an issue? Other than the current first grade?
What is the issue behavior?
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, I wasn't clear on the question.
Okay, the issues that were brought up regarding the current first grade behavior, people leaving the classroom, does that happen in any other grade at the elementary school? I'm sorry, what?
Yes.
Is it much less than what happens in first grade right now?
No, I would say kindergarten.
And we're not
That's why-
supporting more teachers in the other classes?
Well, kindergarten, we're adding a teacher.
Well, I'm talking about 24, 25, 26,
25,
because that's what we're here to talk about
Sorry.
tonight.
I'm sorry, kindergarten. And then the second grade,
Well, first grade has almost max. So why aren't we proposing adding there? Third grade, almost max. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got mixed up by the 15 and 16, sorry. The 18 showed something. So why aren't we concerned about current sorry, I've got the confusion. Current
kindergarten moving to first grade.
Our goal would be that some of those kindergartens do mature
so
the year, but
can we hope for that in the current first grade?
cannot right now due to the fact that it's been a stigma for 2 years. So I'm not as
Their
confident,
performance doesn't,
I'm not as confident that they will make the growth that we would like. So that's why we're kind of like in the pattern we're at right now.
We definitely seem to have an ebb and flow in our attendance, right? Because I'm looking at this 82.
enrollment, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, enrollment.
Okay.
82, 72, 89, 72. The following year might be back up to 90. The back, I think there's a difference between saying, let's add a teacher to where the numbers are at 17, 18, because I'm with you, John. If I thought we could add a teacher successfully, I would say it might be better for the kids if we did. But there's a difference to say, let's add to what we have in existence and saying, knowing that the following year is going to be a full, like, we're talking about getting rid of a teacher who's here, who's invested in our students, invested in our town, invested in our school system, and removing them, knowing we will most likely have to add somebody back in next year when we have to retrain and bring somebody else in. And for the 1 year where the number of kids in each class might be lower than our 18, it doesn't mean that and that's why I asked the question yesterday. Do we have minimums? Because if we had 8 kids a class, I would be like, okay, well, let's stack a couple of those classes. But we have 14, 15, 16 kids in each class. So it's lower than our max by a little. But to me, I don't know if it's worth messing with the the setup that we have. I can't think of the right word. It just flew out of my head. That's all. I'm concerned if we remove one to add one, to remove one to add one, we're going to start rolling through teachers, and we have some really dedicated folks who want to stay. And I'd hate to lose someone for a short-term gain that may or may not actually be realized. That's all.
I have a question.
And I was asking questions and then we got some other things going on. So to recap, current first grade needs, the recommendation is to go with 5 next year because of behavioral health issues that we are currently experiencing. Is that right? Kindergarten, we're gonna, at 88, we're gonna have 17 and 18 and they have behavioral issues, but we're not recommending to increase by 1.
Okay, no, I mean, I also can say that we might take these classes and, you know, right now, this is the projection. We could decide we might move a teacher up to first grade. And as second grade moves along, or our current first grade moves along, because we are only in October, we might see some changes, but that doesn't mean that kindergarten class is going to make the growth that our first grade class was. So we would take that current projected second grade teacher and move them into first grade to increase the numbers in first grade.
Right.
And lower the
Same
standards.
total staff, just
Yep.
flex where they live.
It's automatic, but it's a good guide to go by right now.
And behavioral health, have we cut any positions in behavioral health in the budget?
No.
Okay. Have we increased?
No,
Is there any recommendation to, because of the behavioral health issues that we have, to increase?
I'm trying to
Handle that.
budget as lean as I can. So we add people, that adds money. So would I love to? Absolutely. But I also realize that doesn't, you know, to add and add, you got to have a real strong justification to add even more. I mean, would I like to have more behavior coaches in the rooms? And I mean, yes, I would, but there's a lot of line too.
Anything else for Amy? Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, Cindy was first. Go ahead, Cindy.
Oh, that's right, Cindy. Sorry, Cindy.
You kind of asked some of the questions I was thinking about, like, so it's purposeful for this grade 2 to have lower numbers. Okay, that's what I was kind of wanting to clarify. And I just wanted to say that I would support your recommendation to keep the teachers. I feel like I would rather do without an item or a thing than to, the personal with the students is, I think, the most important thing. And so I would support your recommendations on that.
Go ahead, Joe.
On kindergarten, I think 72 is a little low projection because except for second grade, the only other grade that's been even close. The 8th grade now, so it's a 6-year difference between grades here. I mean, we've been pushing at least 80 for the most part.
The enrollment projection that we have,
Yeah.
it's actually 75, I think.
They did that, how many years ago before we built all this stuff up there? I think that's 15, it's gotta be, heck, that was the first year, so it's gotta be almost 10 years old now.
The enrollment projections from 23, 24,
When did we redo them?
23, 24.
Pretty much every year.
No, but I mean, we actually paid a company to do it before, not,
Oh, well, that's, so we're saying these enrollment and projections are not worthy?
they haven't.
They weren't too accurate last year.
Looking back, they haven't been as accurate as.
So why do we get it? Do
I
it,
don't- That's, to
entertain it?
be honest with you, I don't know why.
Higher or lower?
Well, our kindergarten numbers have been spiking higher than what they've been projecting. I mean, last year that we cut the teacher because we thought we were gonna be at 70 something. And we're at 89.
88, 89.
So it's not always, I mean, I get it too. We don't know. I'm just being real. It's a guide.
It's weird because the population of the town hasn't budged in 20 years.
Well, we are going through a little bit of, people were home for a lot a long time.
Let's look at
Last
enrollment.
couple of years.
And them now.
That were 5 years ago, so I'm just saying there might be a little spike and that's gonna go back down again.
There is a lot of, I mean, we talk about it all the time, but there's still a lot of construction in town. I may not throw our numbers through the roof, but it's not gonna, I don't see us going down.
Wow.
I don't think it'll be enough to.
I think it might,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
population spike due to COVID and we're gonna see stuff go down a little bit. Not huge, but
I smell what you're stepping in there, but
I haven't even got the COVID.
that's all right. You gotta have a little fun while we're talking.
5 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, COVID babies.
And four, they might
Like
be
2 more.
barely into kindergarten. They're in preschool,
I
right?
like to put that as far back as I
That's all right. Yeah, it feels like 30 years ago, but, yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to say something funny because we were getting tense.
It didn't work.
Thanks, Amy.
Did I? Got it.
Hey, you know, you
Thank
can't win them all.
Thank you, Amy.
Next up. Raymond High School. Pete. Evening, Pete.
All right. Start you off on page 1 with the salaries. I'm starting to feel like a dentist when they do that thing at your teeth. 1, 3, 4, 2, like 1, 4, 1.8, 1.5, 7,
Wait.
1.
7.
Wait, hold on.
Wait, I must have missed
I
one because
must have missed
7's at
something.
48 too.
Yeah, that's where I was.
How's that 7?
1.5, 7 and 1.
Let's go.
I don't know.
Wait, what? Where the hell did you
So
get?
1 at 36,
Shows
1 at
add numbers.
69, 4 at 241.
We're at high school.
I don't know what you're saying.
I'm looking
Wrong page.
Right,
high school, art salary,
yeah.
1, business salary is 1, that's 69,000.
4.
English
English,
is 4 at 241,
yeah,
1.8,
correct.
1.5.
1.5.
You're saying 7 for 34,000?
I got 48
Wait,
too.
Where are you getting
Me.
4?
Yeah,
You looking at the page?
21, 22.
you're looking at 21,
Sorry.
22 versus 20.
You're over at the left. I'm looking.
Oh, y'all flipped it around on me.
The lines are all,
Wait,
you're on the correct line.
8,220 is.
Still 7 for
0.7.
48?
0.7.
That's-
Point
Thank you.
That's why I'm like, wait,
7?
I did not, Terry.
Like, we're really
I thought you
paying
said
them, aren't we? Yeah.
I wrote down
That Jennifer.
7.
Thank you. Yeah.
1,
He said 7, right? Okay. That's why I was like, wait, what am I looking at?
Okay,
Some cheap
0.7, sorry.
0.7 for FCS and health. Okay, next.
yep. 1.
Wait.
47,586 is
Okay,
1.
1, yep.
3. Okay, so the next one is 2 half times. So technically that's 1.
2
Okay.
and a half times, 2 times
Because they have
0.5.
Share the middle school.
Half here, half at the middle.
Say
part.
1 for the sake of it.
Okay.
Yes.
I hope so.
Right, but does that come down to insurance?
No, it's salary, so it's all the same.
Between the high school,
Right.
pay half.
And the insurance I split out as well. Everything I
This is
split
what
out.
accountants like to do. They like.
Yeah, this is like,
Oh, no, I just want to be clear. You all made me do that last year.
yeah, okay.
263, 662, that's 4. 1, 4, 2, 1. And that last one for the 16,500, that is 6 at 2,750 apiece.
Thank you, Marge.
You're welcome. Then next one is 2. Your co-curriculars are in your binder.
Mhm.
High schools, well, we don't know how many that is yet, but we budgeted 7,000. High school Saturday detention. So we increased the Saturday detention from 1,600 to 2,000 because,
Wait a minute.
6,800.
6,800.
yep, nope, I'm gonna break it down for
Okay.
you. Okay, so the first thing is before you see the 1,600. So we increased the Saturday detention itself from 1,600 to 2,000. And that is because we could be using them 2 times a month. We also added additional after-school assistance program for failing students for $4,800.
Wait a minute, wait a
All
minute.
right, yeah, I got a question too.
Why are we putting it into detention when it's academic?
I had nowhere else to put it.
We can't
So
put it on the line? Because that's not representing what it looks like.
Nope, I can create another line. I've just never heard of such a thing. I honestly, John, I have no idea where to put it.
No, I understand.
This was thrown at us even like this year, and we were panicking at the SAU, me and my entire staff, because we're like, where is this supposed to go? We've never heard of such a thing. Why are we doing this? And then it created a whole time issue with the time clock management piece of it.
Gosh.
So, I mean, this, it's such a little amount of money, but it has caused so much stress on us over there.
Follow up my question, Tony, and then I'll give it. Keith, just to clarify. So it's 4,800 for academic assistance after school, not on Saturday. Is that,
Not on Saturday, correct.
okay, go ahead, Tony.
Saturday detention. Do you have that every Saturday? Is that
Twice a month.
twice a month? Now, does the same person do it every Saturday?
No,
Okay, so the pay is, what is it per Saturday? Like, how does that work? You said it was $2,000, right?
I think it's $40 an hour.
I believe it's $40 an hour.
It's like 4 hours per Saturday,
Yeah,
8 to 12, I'm guessing.
I think it's a little shorter. I believe it goes till 11, actually. But yeah,
It was 8 to 12 in my day.
At least you heard about.
I'm letting you stay the whole time.
You're here, you might as well stay, Tony. And the $2,000 for Saturday, Pete, what does one do to get to a Saturday detention? I'm assuming we continue to have after-school detention.
yes. The Saturdays are built in for, what's written in the student planner, that the handbook is for, excessive tardies. When you hit, 7 tardies, that's not a Saturday detention. So it's the culmination of larger, smaller things that add up and they get assigned. So when we do, twice a month, we have those.
And how is, excuse the pun, the attendance on that?
We've had the first 2 were at, 6, I believe this weekend. I think we have the last one of the,
What I mean is everybody that's been assigned Saturday detention showing up for Saturday detention?
everyone, it's not everyone. The majority of them have shown thus far, yes.
Is the majority 90%, 75%? And the reason I'm asking is,
Yeah, no, I think the first one, we had 6 kids signed up, and I think 5 showed. I think the second one was approximately the same, 5 or 6. We were like one shy of having the full attendance.
go ahead, Joe. Oh, sorry, Tony did you have a question?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Joe,
I'm completely thrown off now. I was gonna ask you. Completely slipped my mind.
when you remember,
I have a
I
question.
mean, you're always gonna get those
Okay.
kids that just don't go. They're like, yeah, I'm not going to that.
I know. I was just curious as to how successful, because if it's 50%, then is it rarely worth doing?
That's what I
Go
was.
ahead, Joe, and then Cindy.
So is it touty for the class or touty for the beginning of school?
School day,
Okay,
school day, yes.
thank you.
Cindy?
So, so we're paying extra for people that have to come to do serve a detention. What is it, like, how uncomfortable is this? Like, for the people doing it, is it working to fix the
Attendance.
problems that we're having?
Well, you gotta
Is
get
it
up
actually
Saturday
doing the
morning and come
trick
to
or
school.
what?
I mean,
That's, honestly, that's a 6 of one, half of the other, because you'll get some kids that will make that impact and they will, start arriving at time because they don't want their Saturday time impacted. Other kids, it doesn't matter to them, and they'll take the hit and keep coming.
I'm gonna go with, for a Saturday detention, it's gonna be more the parents that sitting there going, you're going to the detention now? Because you screwed up.
Well, do they understand that it's costing money, like for this? Like, it's not coming out of their pocket, so they don't really feel the impact of it.
Financially correct.
can we put up a sign that says this is costing money?
Yeah,
understand.
exactly.
Stream it,
You can't, I don't know.
like a stock ticker.
Like one of those
Obviously, our
thermometers where the
hands are
price goes
tied
up
in
and
a
up.
way. But yeah, I'm not
mean-
feeling the impact of what, I'm just wondering if it's actually worth the money.
That's definitely something I can track, as far as going back to the start of this year and fully track and get you like, let's say per semester, so in January, get you the numbers and see on that.
If it's not worth it, like, I mean, it might be somebody wants some Christmas money, they can do the babysitting. But is it actually doing what it's supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I can definitely, get you the information on that. See what percentage, the numbers who are assigned to though versus the number who actually show. I can get that for you. I mean, it'll be.
Yeah, it'll be a ways out.
Yeah, but at least you would know.
And the sign that says this is costing money, maybe you might work.
Because I don't know who went up first. I'll go with Steve and, Tony.
It was Tony.
So my question would be if they're assigned detention on a regular day, is that the teacher stays after, or is there like a after-school detention similar to the Saturday, but it's for?
If it's in admin assigned detention, then that would be, we do have Miss Larrabee, who is the restorative practice teacher. She stays till 3 o'clock and monitors that detention.
Now, is that a stipend position? Like, does she get paid for that?
No, that's built into her salary.
Okay.
And then if it is a teacher assigned detention, then we spend that time with the teacher.
Under the same, it's part of that teacher's, it's within the normal contracted day.
Yes.
I guess, yeah, if they assign the detention, they would stay after.
Yeah.
So, and then the other alternative is in-house, and obviously that costs money. So, I mean, either way, it's.
So the question I was gonna say, or I guess the statement I was gonna make was that it's really, it's meant as a deterrent, right? If they've gotten a bunch of after school detentions, it doesn't really impact their daily life, but by a little bit of time. But when you impact the whole family on a Saturday morning, everyone takes a little bit more notice of that time. So the hope is one Saturday detention will prevent further issues because they go, I don't really want to do that on a Saturday again.
That is the hope.
Yeah, to your point, some of them don't care. They just come anyway.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's just to clarify, it's 2,000 for the year.
For this, correct.
So it's not 2,000 per Saturday, it's 2,000 for the year. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have to pick up a part-time job on a Saturday, but,
Right?
okay. I just was confirming that.
Yeah.
Because obviously we had it all in one. All right, that was it. Thank you.
I just had one more.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So on a Saturday, what do they actually do with that time? Do they have to do work or is there
What
something?
do they do or what are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
Maybe you could give us both.
They're supposed to do work. It's not supposed to be sit there, hands down staring at the wall. And they're supposed to be doing academic work, making up work, studying, improving their grades. A lot of the kids do, if they're missing the morning, they're missing some class work, so they're supposed to be doing that work.
Where's that held here?
Yeah.
It's from?
Well said.
Page 2.
Yeah, wait. We were
Really, we are
doing so well.
we have ground to a halt.
Poor Pete.
1. 3. High school 6th period salary, that is what we discussed yesterday. That's based on a BA1.
And what do we anticipate those two positions being?
The 6th period salary?
Yep.
Oh, boy.
I
Could
think we
be
had
it.
a discussion about it. I can't remember.
What are you down this year? You're pretty much fully
Right
staffed right now.
now, we're staffed, yes. As of right now, we're covered.
Right, but what are we budgeting 7654?
Because next year could be the case manager moves on and we got to do the same thing where we're covering that class again. You go to $1, but
But we don't have a need for it.
not 100%, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Principal admin salary 2. High school substitute salary, that is a 3-year average. Jumpstart stipend. Was that picked up again this year, correct?
How many students This is more for Friday memo. How many students did we have this past summer participate? And then the previous 2 summers?
This year, I believe we were at 48 students this 48 freshmen.
Yep.
Incoming freshmen, I believe, but I can get you those exact.
Yeah,
numbers.
if you could get the previous 2 also, please.
So that's what that jump start is. That's like the.
That the 8th graders coming from the high school or going to the high school that are in 9th grade now. They do it in August?
Yes.
That's the freshman academy or something that's similar.
Well,
Two different
it's more
things.
about, here's the building, here's what where the classrooms are, more of that, and then there's some discussions about how things go here at the high school. I think they have upperclassmen participate in discussions about those types of things.
There's about 8 to 10 upperclassmen, Mr. LaCasca is still going to do it. And they meet all of the admin, they'll meet the assistants who are in, we talk to them, sit with them for a little bit as well.
Sign autographs.
All that fun stuff.
And then that wraps up the salaries, and then you get into the benefits. Dental, life, disability. Put you at middle of page 7. And then Pete, you can take it away.
Yeah, run with it.
Right back at you.
Okay, so I think we're gonna go to page 8,
Well, if you stay on page 7,
7, okay?
the significant increase for referees and officials, I'm assuming that's just NHIA dictated and we don't have much say in the matter.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Yep, thank you.
Yep.
They're gonna say copper lines.
Exactly.
Okay, high school, so line item 330, the high school co-curricular coverage. We've reduced that down to the 89, I believe that one.
Going up.
No, sorry, yep. That went up to 89 from 6,900 to 89.
1890.
1890.
No, I thought we changed that.
I like his thinking.
Hold on, I thought we changed that.
Okay.
530.
Well, he's getting that number. What is this talking about co-curricular coverage?
It was an EMT.
That was, yes, that was the
Oh.
EMT that
Yep.
we pulled back out.
Okay.
So that should be 8,900, not the 8.
Oh, looky there, Pete.
Right, so that.
I think it's,
Was it once 18.9 or was that just a typo?
That was when they were originally talking about the budget, right? And then
Budget, and we had to.
further discussion.
Having EMT at
At every game?
at all the events.
Okay,
We-
so,
Just for clarity, we did have an EMT at all the games.
No, not all games. Again,
No.
At the games that we required.
thank you.
Yes.
So we were in compliance.
Yes,
Contrary to what might be.
The squawk.
very true.
being told.
understood, yeah.
We were not,
You were not in violation.
We were not in any violation.
thank you.
So yes, that definitely did decrease.
so we're
With that.
decreasing it by
It's
12,000.
going to 8,900.
I
10 grand.
So then why is it going up by 2?
Because I had it listed at 69.
And you got 89 now. So we're going down to 12,000 or 10,000?
It's going up $2,000.
There we go. Well, we got, it's gonna be a long.
Who's on first?
Yes.
Yes.
$8,900, what I have. Okay, that's a good one.
There's 10 grand right off the top.
Okay, down to repairs.
High school athletic.
The athletic repairs, the big one for that, high school athletics repairs, so that's going up by $1,000, and that is, it was at 8,000.
2,000.
So
I got it listed as 9,000.
You were winning.
Well, we should have him start looking at all the lines and
Because he-
we'll be going down everywhere.
Yeah.
In our books, it's 10,000, Pete. That's why we're,
Well, I think it was last.
I have that we
9,000.
decreased it by 4. I have that it was at 14 and we, per the meeting that we had, we decreased it by 4.
You're talking about the overall total repairs.
No, we're talking
No,
about
I'm
high
talking
school
about the high
athletic
school
affairs.
athletic.
It was at 14, I think Marjorie's saying.
So the 8.
We cut it by 4.
I have it at 8.
It says
from
8.
last year,
Yep.
up to 10, and then reduced to 9 per our meeting.
would it make sense just to reconvene at the three of, whoever needs to and get the number?
Oh, if Pete wants to cut it, I'm cutting it.
Well,
All right, hey.
I don't want it at the expense of.
The only reason it went up was because of the new weight room equipment.
Okay,
It already had a cable or 2 break on the Planet Fitness ones, and we didn't have that.
proper cable.
And those cables were a little more expensive than we thought, so that's why that went up to 1,000. That's what
That one was 3,000.
that,
I have it, so I have that the weight room repairs were 3,000. And then there was a rental of a tractor.
yeah, that came out.
Yeah.
That completely came out.
So that's why I have 4 grand coming out to make it at the 10.
Well, they're figuring this out.
Right there, I'm good with that.
Do you have a question for somebody else?
Yeah, I got.
It was about the
requested per
machines.
9,000.
Go ahead, Tony.
So if we got these weight machines and cables broke on some of them, should we just replace them all?
Oh,
Because if,
the cables.
yeah, so I mean, if say someone gets injured when one of these breaks, that's on us, right? Not the people that gave us the machines.
Right.
Correct.
So should we think about,
I think there's safety things in place that they can't get hurt by the cable breaking. Does that make sense?
that's good to know, but
Yeah.
still, if they're failing, is that what we
I
should?
think we probably need to do an inspection on them, make sure they're not frayed or anything like that. And if they are fraying, it's time to replace it before it does break.
Right.
So probably need to take a look at all the cables and make sure they're not fraying. The connectors are tight and all that.
Don't wanna
So
put
maybe
machines they
10,000
can't
looks
use.
better?
I'm good with 10,000 then too.
Oh, I'll put it back in.
I mean, would that be,
Sold.
like, would we be able to, assuming that a couple of them need to be replaced, would that be
I
enough
can talk
to?
to Todd and have him take a walk around there.
Does Planet Fitness have some, I mean, I assume anybody can inspect it, but obviously if it's their equipment, they would know.
It's not their equipment now. I know what you're saying, but I can.
Yeah, just make an assessment of it, yeah.
Cause our football team's pumping iron way too much.
Yeah, really, they're like, go crazy, right?
Moving to 9. The student transportation, that did increase a considerable amount. So that was a percentage increase for just the cost going up. An additional company to get students transported, which we had a higher price, as well as the addition of esports as an actual athletic application for next year versus a club.
Tony, okay, go ahead, Tony.
So I see Jumpstart Transportation last year, we budgeted $1,000.
Yes,
So did no students utilize that, or did we not do that? Why are we not doing that this year?
Jumpstart, $1,000 with bus transportation. Apparently in the past, they had done a field trip up to UNH where they had taken the bus up, and that hasn't happened in the last couple of years. So that money
Oh,
got
so-
removed from that line and reallocated to the Jumpstart supply line.
So it's not transporting the kids to the Jumpstart program, it would be something that you did.
Correct.
During,
The
okay.
bus rental here up to UNH. It wasn't to get the kids here. Correct. The next large one that I had was the printing and binding for the high school graduation. That line increased by $1,500, and that was to help with the cost of the caps and gowns. Going in,
Before you move on, right above that line, the high school office printing. What does the high school office need printing?
I believe that's more like our, when we're sending out our, like supplies, those types of things. The specifics, I can find out exactly, what that would entail
Yeah, because
for the
to
print.
me, printing implies different than office
and
supplies.
office supplies, yeah, I can get that.
If you could, thank you.
Absolutely. I don't want to give you some false information on that. Okay. And we would go to 10. I have under travel. The first one there is $1,000. That is for coaches mileage. So when we don't have a bus, the coaches have to drive there. So that's their mileage. And then let's list as the high school principal mileage. That's actually what we have the director when he's traveling to and from all the events that he's going to. Okay, continuing page 10, the world, on the supply, the world language one. That went up, $500 and, we're saying percentage increase and, the, potential enrollment increases on students taking language. The Biz ed supplies went up. I have that as just product and shipping increases. This, industrial arts one, is just follow.
Before you go on, Pete,
Yep.
does anybody have questions on any of the supplies? How about that? That'll make your life easier.
Perfect.
Okay, I do have a question. I ask everything.
64.
$64 per, thank you, student.
That's general ed.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Can we just get a quick, like, what that would include? Like, do they get binders or
Go ahead,
planners or
Margaret.
markers
General ed.
or like what?
What would general ed
I have no-
supplies be here at the high
Okay.
school?
Paper, pencils.
Pencils.
I'm sure they don't.
Curtain.
Yeah,
You know-
we do have, sets of binders if kids need something, like supply closet full of.
Notebooks and stuff like that.
So your traditional,
Yeah.
Yeah.
School ed.
Every day.
Badges.
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, so then on to books and printed material on page 11.
If you want to highlight anything, that's fine. If not,
Okay.
the board will, do you have anything on that?
Some reductions, but
It was a significant decrease, yeah.
Yep, then I do have a couple of decreases. So on the English books, we definitely put a decrease on that. We're gonna.
having a rodeo out there?
Come on.
I already talked to
They're
him.
replacing the lights.
Oh, fixing the lights, I just asked him. to
What did
stop.
you
He's
say,
getting on the
English
phone next,
books?
The English books we moved from here to the curriculum line. That went over yesterday.
Terry mentioned it was 15,000.
Yep.
Moved from high school to,
And that $1,000 that remains is if a student loses or fails to turn in The Catcher in the Rye or The Crucible, we can buy another book to replace that one that was missed. So that's what that $1,000 would remain for. The decrease on the world language, that's a decrease because of the license renewal. So that may go back in the following year, but that's what that decrease one there is for. Significant decrease on the science book, and that's because it's coming through a grant we're getting, a STEM grant for that one. The decrease in the social studies books, we went from 10,000 down to 5,000 because that has not been used. And that was just kind of just sitting there and spoke with the department and all that. And that was their rainy day fund. I was like, well, that's kind of a large amount for a rainy day fund, so we're gonna move away from that.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
go ahead, Cindy.
So what would they be using for the social studies? If they're not using the money in the fund, so they don't need any supplies, they have everything they need.
Well, their supplies, they do have that supply line, these are for the actual.
This is the- yeah.
So they have all the
They have
textbooks.
what they need, is what, I've been told. I've actually sat with her to kind of go through her budget and sit there up to date with what they have.
Yeah, there's still $5,000 allocated.
That's what I was gonna ask.
And is that, but we're all up to date,
Yeah.
so we don't need any of that.
Well, maybe 1,000.
You put 1,000 in and call it a day?
Yeah,
Is there objections? I mean,
I do not have.
Okay,
objection to
okay,
that one.
all right.
I don't see-
definitely Do not.
Sorry. Would that be, would history fall under the social studies books? Cause I don't see history books listed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Social studies history.
So we were talking yesterday about the
Soviet Union.
Soviet Union still being in our, so maybe we might want to spend some money on social studies books?
just, I don't know if that's true or not, but if you could find out and then we
Well,
can revisit.
If
It
it's
was a
true.
while ago.
Yeah, if it's true, maybe we take a look
Still
at
have
it.
books that reference that, yeah.
Yeah,
might-
might be time to,
The outdated book.
I'll have to make the comment I made last night, although there is at least one individual in that country looking to go back there.
Okay.
Okay, periodicals. We did have an increase in the English periodicals, and that is for a digital theater. Set of books or
A digital what?
theater. Theater,
You have to explain more.
okay.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I'll pull that right up
Theater?
for you. So I do have it all here.
Theater.
Theater.
Theater. We going to Carnegie?
Shake.
It's digital theater subscription for the department is what's listed here.
So is it licenses for plays?
Licenses, yes.
Okay.
Or
Could we
Yeah,
get exactly
exactly.
what it is?
I will.
We're gonna be watching Shakespeare plays.
yeah, like movie night.
Is it for a drama club to do the play? Cause I know they charge for that. but-
No, no, that would not be part of that one.
This is books.
Drama would be separate.
And how would that be used? Like, I'd be curious. Are we
Well,
watching it? Are we interacting with it? Are we becoming it? That's a lot of money for.
I will get you that information as well. Okay. The decrease on the social studies periodicals as well. Photography, so they're looking at individual pocket guides for the kids to use on their cameras when they're outside, so they don't have to kind of reference their books and all that back and forth and have their Chromebook out trying to figure out if they have an issue with the camera, like a little pocket guide that they go with on there.
I have a question on that.
Go ahead.
I know we had bought some cameras at one point. Do you know how many, students are doing that class?
Yes, we
Oh,
are
really?
4 cameras shy for the number of students we have. So, which is why in the supply or new purchases, we got a couple more.
8,500.
When you say 4 shy of how many we have, how many sections are there? And is that what, is it just one class and we're short?
We currently have,
I know it's in a backup someplace, but I'm not gonna be able to find it, so.
we have 12 students, which does not add up. We should have more cameras than that. We have 12 students currently taking it at this time, but I believe there was an issue with some of the cameras, so they were looking.
I see 74. That's two sections, 74 students, digital
And
photography.
then there's one below it for 10.
Yeah.
Page
I like
one.
it, I like it. Makes my life easy. Tom.
Mhm.
Those were my questions, which was,
How many cameras did we buy last year?
Last year, we had.
That was like 10 or 8. I thought we reduced the number.
I think we asked for that.
I think they initially asked for 8,500 like this year and then we reduced it.
I think so. I don't
For like,
remember.
So this is 84 students taking photography?
Yes.
Is that true, Pete? Well, hold on, I was looking at something else.
We do not have 84 current students taking photography.
I know it was one of the more popular classes last year when we looked at it.
I believe right now we have one section of photography.
And the reason we're saying that is because on the first page, it's listed digital photography, 2 sections, 74 students.
I'm sorry, what the first?
First page of
On the
the
projections.
projected enrollment. Yep.
Gotcha.
That's where we're getting that from, Pete. And then it lists the average as 42. Their math is a little off.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that through this.
Digital photography then is listed a second time, 2 sections, 10 students.
So I think it adds the 74 and the 10 to get the 80.
82? Okay, but I'm still trying to figure out the 2 sections and 37 kids in those 2 sections, or who knows what it is.
Yeah, that can,
So back to the cameras though.
So I'm looking at this current budget.
Yeah.
We originally budgeted 10,500. And then we decreased it by 4,900 so that we could purchase 8 cameras instead of 15. This year we should be purchasing 8, I believe.
So it's at 8,500 currently, and that's gonna give us how many cameras?
It,
Is that correct?
I think it's 5,600. So it was 10,500 and we subtracted 4,900.
What page you on?
I'm not, I'm looking at,
No, I'm saying on for the
Page 12.
oh,
About halfway
so,
down.
Yep.
yep.
500,731,
Yeah.
and I've got high school photography, new equipment for 25, 26 is 8,500.
Correct. Last year was 5,600.
Right, and how many cameras does $8,500 get us?
That should get you, I would think, 15 or 10, at least 12.
I would think 10 or 12, yeah.
I mean, that's decent cameras.
I was 12.1, but
yes, we are currently, this is the 8,500 is to purchase 4 cameras because we are currently 3 shy.
So how much are the cameras?
Wow.
$2,000 a camera?
Yeah, no, they're not bad.
so
'Cause I know they were doing
Ballpark,
7
2,200?
Yeah, those are
Yeah, that's-
600 or 800.
Yeah.
Typically.
1799.
Are we getting like a package with each camera of lenses and everything?
Quality last year.
This includes a lens kit, mirrorless vlogging.
We weren't buying $1,800 cameras last year.
Image quality. Yeah, 1799.
For one.
What's the model number on that?
Now, they're not all using that.
I don't,
I thought they were using T7s or something like that.
that's 600 or 700
Right.
memory.
Cause I said, can we use
So if
T5?
we
And they
could,
said,
another one where
"No,
we
can
could do a little
Can
research.
can we take a look at the cameras and just see what,
That's a little. steep.
yeah, that's a little
You don't
steep.
even
Yeah.
pay
Did we
that for
cover that last year or 2 years ago?
We cut it last year too.
No, I mean, cover it. We had, I thought, the same discussion either this, last year or.
Yeah, we had the same discussion. Because,
I don't think it was $1,700 like.
yeah,
No.
so,
The same thing with a lesser model.
right, I asked if they could do T5s and they said no for whatever reason. So we
Yeah.
said, okay,
Let's do
but
it.
they weren't $1,800.
No, absolutely
Like
not.
900, I think, or
I don't even know
850.
about that, but, because it was only 5,600 that they actually
Mhm.
have for the current school year.
They're shooting for the
24,
moon
25.
now,
Holy moly, Batman.
yeah. $1,800.
What was the model on that one?
This is a,
EOS SR7,
Yeah.
yeah,
A what?
EOS R7.
With the Canon then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's not a Kodak. Or Polaroid.
Not getting that one at Best Buy. You gotta go to a camera store for that. B&H.
The EOS 7.
The EOS 70D, maybe? Yes.
All right, anyways,
Yeah.
so if we get a little homework done. Thank you.
Trying to slip that through.
After last year too.
Okay. So page 12. Increase in computer software. Which is the percentage increase. And then a decrease in the guidance software because we no longer need.
Where are we?
On the computer software.
Yep.
We went from 580 actually used in 23-24. We budgeted 7150 this year. What are we buying next year that we're gonna need more computer software for high school? So I'm guessing it's gonna be good for more than a year.
Page 12.
Page 12, 500, 650.
Percentage of price increases. Based on information. That is listed as, the Coder Z Robotics site license in the New Hampshire Coder Z League. So to join the robotics league.
Okay.
I have that listed as that difference.
So that's like a yearly fee or something?
Probably.
It's 7,024
So it's not really. software.
and 8,025.
Yeah, that's not really software, but
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
So you get it.
They had to find someplace to put it.
Yeah, it does not have a list of how long that license is for.
That's the entire cost of that one.
No, it's a two-part cost. The Coder Z Robotics League is $3,800.
Excuse me, how much was that?
3,800.
3,000.
$3,850. And then there's the the site license for one to unlimited
Bless you.
sheets. In the for programming, digital components, research, that's the license
It's basically the curriculum for that
for
class.
that particular classes. Yeah.
And there's software to support the 3850 purchase.
Yes.
Yes. Yep. And that's all here through the Coder Z League. For robotics.
Does it make sense to separate it out?
Now the league, is that like their,
I mean, that wouldn't go that under like,
New equipment.
Well, I mean, licenses technically fall under software. Because they're typically linked to a.
But this is I thought this was like basically entry fee for the league, right?
that go in the.
well,
Mine
for the
says-
league has me confused. Is that like the sanctioning body that they compete?
I believe that's what it is.
It's a robotics competition and that's the league that
So that would be the dues. that they
Governs.
pay.
that governs the robotics company.
Okay, so
So she needs the software in the classroom
Mhm.
to do the stuff.
To do the work and then she has to join the league in order to actually.
which
compete.
makes it an official robotics team
Right.
sanctioned.
So would that not be
Something else.
That would be dues,
Yeah.
I would think. No, membership.
or an e-sport almost?
Well,
And to hear dues and fees?
done during the day during school. She teaches during her class.
Yes, this is.
Then that's a.
There's no co-curricular robotics?
Not this part.
Okay.
It could be used as a co-curricular after school, but from what I'm hearing, she teaching this during
You
class.
guys use this during.
Well, the
robotics.
coding is during the day, but the league is not.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but the descriptions that I have in the system say that these are site licenses. Within that site license, yes, maybe there's a due or a fee tagged on to that. But
Okay.
it actually does not say, like,
Well, they
so
just,
sometimes if you do it and then sometimes if, then you have to register, but you've already paid for the licenses. So for me, it doesn't break it out as a license versus a dues or a fee. So I would say, I was looking down further at the dues and fees to see if maybe the dues and fees were included in that too for the computer. But there's nothing down there for the computer, so.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So I see here, so do you have two sections or one section of robotics? Is it, you just have integrated robotics or do you have another class?
Just the one I believe.
And that's new last year, right? Last year, the first year.
Well, it's on your list too, that's the coding class too.
So we do robotics as well.
Yeah, well, you use code to run a robot, right?
Well, is it a different class? It's a separate class? You do coding first and then robotics, or?
No, they're all tied. We don't have a separate coding class.
So it's. And there's 21 students. But this is new, you're saying?
I believe we had it before and, you know,
So I was just wondering like how popular it is, are people like anxious to be taking it?
no, I mean, her class is full. They're, you know, engaged in working on stuff, so seems to be going well at this point.
Okay, wondering, because if you pay that much, you want to make sure you have.
Absolutely.
Did you say it's under intro to
Yeah, I mean, compared to the
electronic?
photography class.
Intro to
It's on page 2.
I think that'll get robotic bigger as it goes, because I feel like they just brought that back recently.
Got my glasses off, so I can't.
Do they have any prerequisites
There
for
it is.
robotics? Like, do you have to have a certain level of math or something, or?
Page 1.
I don't
I'll tell you page 2. I'm
Yeah, that's
sorry.
okay. Oh, I went right over it. Thank you.
We'll get all
Helps to
that.
have the correct information.
Probably like, it's probably all the same kids that do the CAD stuff and
Yeah.
things like that.
Do we have anything in, and this might be a multi-question here, but while we're talking about robotics, do we have anything for AI and next gen stuff that they could take some classes on in our curriculum?
Currently in the curriculum, no, that's stuff we are looking at and discussing. We did a few training up at UNH, you know, actually presenting at our next PD day on November 5th, about what they learned, to see what we can, how we can start utilizing it, come up potentially, how we'd come up with a policy to support it and go from there.
I think that would be more of a shift in classes or whatever than adding or subtracting anything maybe for the budget though.
Yeah, that's why I said it might be a multi-leveled, it was more of a, you said robotics and made me go, so I was like, do we even have anything for training for them? Sorry, maybe a little off topic.
YouTube, maybe.
We're on the works on that. That is coming.
YouTube, learn anything there.
I'm not sure who to ask, Terry or Pete, but is there money attached? Because if there is, we should talk about it now. Otherwise, you can,
The AI,
yeah.
to be honest, I don't think we've made it even that far yet. We,
Well, what I'm saying is, if we don't talk about money now, we're not gonna be able to do it until 26, 27.
right.
So,
Yeah, I don't know what money would be attached, how much would be needed
okay.
at this particular time at all.
I will say most of the services are free.
I have no
And then
idea.
there's a handful that you can pay for, but it's a per person license. I assume they have an educational version, but I don't think it's very much, but there's a free version of everything you can jump in and learn with.
I just ask AI.
We can, it's gonna be like $80,000 for Elon Musk's, you know, person there that he had on stage, so.
Oh, yeah, if you want a guy walking around, but well, we'll get the robotics class to build us one.
It's a oh no, that would be a
All
subscription.
right,
Sorry,
Probably have to update it.
I squirreled.
that's all right. Go ahead, Pete.
So down to new equipment, page 12. There's no increase for the arts. They're looking at getting some new machines for the program. And
The wood shop down there?
yep. That's, and he's looking at getting. Gotta find it. Apologize on that.
All good.
Seven. Okay, sorry, there we go. Okay, so he's looking at getting a new DeWalt 15 amp ported table, job site table. So it's got power right in the table. He's looking at a new router machine. With the addition of a cutting upgrade with linear rails and a laser engraving cutting edge as well. And those two collectively are going to be up to 2,700. Just alone on those.
The first one's basically a workbench,
It
right?
says, oh, I'm looking at 840. Where are you looking?
Industrial arts,
Dollars.
new equipment,
I'm not looking.
50073.
Page 12.
Oh, okay, I'm looking at, okay.
Not that far, is Cindy.
Well, it says industrial arts, new furniture, that's what I was saying. I was thinking that's gonna be way more than 840.
Yeah. We need to deal with the cameras, but we got a table on the side.
I don't know, I'm bigger on the side than cameras.
Additional new equipment for math. The purchase of 4 iPads to do math work on for the teachers. And we did run this by tech and that they would be okay with that if needed.
They sync with the Promethean boards, it makes it easier for the teacher.
Easy for the
Do
teacher.
it on the iPads that have sitting at their desk with the computer, because computer has to be hardwired into the Promethean boards. The iPad can project up and they can be moving around the room more. With the iPads.
Airdrop,
Our,
airdrop it to the screen.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Do they need parachutes for that? or-
It's all safe.
They need-
I love the technology.
Yeah.
Is there an Android version?
Couldn't tell you, maybe, I mean, Matt, I don't know.
Yeah,
Matt-
that's-
I mean, because I like the idea, but if the Android tablets are significantly cheaper than an iPad, if they have the same app for the Promethean board on Android, you could probably get it for half that price.
Sold.
Likely, yes. I do know, the reason they were looking to do the iPad, is one teacher does use a personal iPad. So that was just a comfort level
Yeah,
too.
because they know how the app works. Okay.
I got you. I got it, John.
How much are the iPads now? What,
I was just kidding.
They range.
Yeah.
divided by 4, that's not like the top of the line.
The iPads that they were looking at are
Like 850.
You can-
700?
one, actually, no, sorry, they're buying 2 of them for 2 of the teachers so they're $1,300 each.
Yeah.
All right, not 4 of it. 2 of them at.
do have-
Forget about it.
And then when you add in, yeah, that's what they'd be at for that.
I have a question.
Can you-
What, did you say, oh, that would be for the math teachers? Is that what you
Yes,
said?
math.
That's what I do. I like those, but I use my. own.
Yeah, and then it's, yeah, 2 of them, do use it. It'll be Apple Pencil. And they use that with it. And that projects it right onto the board.
There's the difference.
Does the Android use your finger?
Some have that, yeah.
iPad.
Yeah, but
The
my wife has the one that you write and it converts it to text to like instant.
yeah.
Yeah.
There are some.
I bought her a digital
features.
notebook, but she wanted an iPad.
Okay.
There are some features on the iPad with the iPen that are,
Matt, take
Pretty awesome.
yeah. Well, I don't know if we need $1,300 iPads, but if we can get a cheaper version or something. I got a stylus on mine too.
All right.
That's all.
I don't have an digressing again.
I don't have an iPad.
That would work. You can.
Yeah, I'm not saying it has to be that. I understand why they're going there because it works really well, but yeah. There's got to be a cheaper way to go.
Like I said, if it's a matter of the text to write to text, I don't know if anything is as good as the iPad. The iPad is really good on it.
They still like that? Yes.
You can write things down and make it text PDF. if it's like that.
Next up,
is new photography equipment again, that's kind of tying in all that, I think. That one was the cameras again, no, that might be a double, so that might. That.
I think we already,
Yeah, we flipped.
I think we talked that, yeah.
Yeah,
We flipped forward already.
Yeah,
Well done with you, Pete.
We did that one already.
All right.
Oops.
We need cheaper cameras.
And then, high school athletic equipment, an increase there for new cheer mats. Our cheer mats have not been replaced in a while. So we do have a quote to get
Does anybody need the quote for that?
What?
New chair mats.
cheer mats.
Yeah.
Okay, then under, replacement equipment. We do have a large increase under the art, and that is our kiln is on its way out. And for the last couple of years, we had to repair that, and it's already kind of going on the fritz this year. The decrease in the high school math was for the last couple of years, it's been for calculators. They're saying that they are fully staffed on calculators, so they don't need those at that line anymore, hence that large decrease. And then the large decrease on the high school equipment replacement. They said they do not need that as well. So that has been decreased as well there, down to from 21. Right there, right out, yeah.
I got you, Steve.
And
Okay, 1 minute, Pete. Go ahead,
So
Steve.
is that because we moved the computers to the other math budget, the replacements? Like, why would we not replace anything?
so that's been an issue for years that we just haven't had enough, and now
Oh, we finally caught up.
I believe so.
Okay.
Are these for
That's not
the,
Chromebooks, right?
Miss S classes? Or is it something different than that?
Those are the ones we should have bought last year.
I don't know.
the.
Not-
I don't know what class.
Those are the CAD
The
computers.
super fast ones that we bought
Yeah,
September 1st.
that was a whole thing.
700.
That was a thing.
Yeah.
When they,
They're for
Bell rang.
computer classes and, okay, yep.
Now.
and now we got them, so we're good for a while. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Let me see here.
Any questions on any of the others? There you go, Pete.
Perfect, I like that.
You're done, brother.
Replacement equipment.
Done.
Oh, that's it? We're not covering it?
Did we talk about the athletics replacement equipment? Like what are we doing with that?
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Where are you? On what line?
I'm on,
Some.
Page 13?
500, 735,
Okay. The 14,600?
$2,000 increase.
That particular one is a percentage increase and replace the $10 and shoulder pads. Why that increase is in there.
so I see that like it was 6,000 went to 12,000. You know
Mhm.
what?
Well, we replaced the soccer, the girls' uniforms.
Uniforms too.
Okay.
So there's uniforms and then,
Yeah, for years we didn't have a uniform cycle.
Mhm.
So we had to start,
And,
that's something that we talked about at the middle school too.
and track and field. I don't know if it was,
But it's just a cycle of,
I don't think it was 24, 25. I think it was the year before, so that we could have them for, I think. Yeah.
And I think boys soccer is actually the one coming due this next turnabout.
Okay.
So what would be for 14,000? There must be.
10 more
some
helmets,
big
10
item.
more shoulder pads.
That's 14,000 for
Well,
helmets and.
No, 10 more plus the uniform cycle.
Oh,
So-
that's part of the uniform.
Yep, that's all in there together.
And how long is that cycle gonna continue? Like in perpetuity?
Yeah, because every year
Okay.
somebody's,
yeah,
we're trying to buy it, instead of buying them all at once. Boys soccer this year, next year, I'm just girls basketball,
So they
next year,
don't
that's boys
rotate back.
basketball, track and field. Those can be used for cross country and 3 seasons, but they're used for 3 seasons, then it's even more wearing out quicker.
Right, if you're
Yeah,
banging helmets constantly, they're worn out.
Mhm.
helmets and shoulder pads should be.
Can only hit a helmet so many times.
Being replaced every year.
I know we purchased it.
Have a full spreadsheet as to going back as far as they could to find out when each team had their uniforms replaced. And then as started to update that so we can keep it on cycle. So, you know, people know when the next cycle is coming to for which particular meeting.
We get a copy. Is that something you could
I'm sure I can ask them for it.
write a memo maybe or
Copy of what?
Light, I'm gonna be a poll on this Friday.
Copy of what?
Uniform cycle.
or any other equipment that you have? If you have anything else documented, like the helmets and stuff.
Has anybody asked about track uniforms? Because I know we bought a boatload of them, but there ended up not being enough. I believe, memory serves me, and you can check with Josh.
I will find out on that.
But-
I'm gonna look into that as well.
Any questions on the budget numbers? The projected enrollment, I gave Terry a suggested recommended format. I think it would be easier for us to absorb. We've seen it before, Joe, the one where it's basically English is listed out and then teacher A, and then it goes across and lists all the classes they have and the enrollment they have. So that way we're looking at English all at the same time, social studies. And I think that'd be easier than trying to figure this out.
Figure this thing out.
Yeah.
I would.
Thank God you said that. I'm looking at this going, this, I don't understand. Like, I understand it, but like,
That's fine. I gave a sample to Terry.
I want the script chart that would say teacher. This is a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, food services and behavioral health. We're glad it was behavioral health back there being very patient,
that
controlling themselves.
one chair got thrown.
Showing them how to do it.
Trying to regulate you. That part of it makes sense.
Ready for your numbers?
Oh, I mean, snoozing.
One. 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 For the next section under the 512s, one of the things since I've been here is I've never understood why we've had so many different middle school, elementary school and high school, and we've never had any rhyme or reason with it. Jody and I discussed when we were trying to count the teachers and who was going where and whatever, and we just said, why don't we just put all of them into one line? So we've done that. I just have to change the title. So those will now just say elementary school, special education teachers, middle school, special education teachers, and high school. So where the inclusion is, we moved everybody to the inclusion lines.
Why would we lose that specificity?
Because I don't know if there was actually any rhyme or reason behind that specificity.
You went on a paper and there was just really no way of knowing exactly why they were there.
Right. Like, I don't know.
So I didn't hear it, I'm sorry.
They're basically words on a paper that nobody knew why.
But as opposed to lumping them all together, why don't they figure it out and present what we've got so we can understand? Because it's like the middle, the high elementary school, you know, we lump everything from K to 3.
Mhm.
But now we've got pond in there and
Leaps and
leaps and bounds and deviating from what's always been done. And it just, for those of us that have been, are familiar with what's supposed to be in there, it makes it difficult. Basically, it's hard to train an old dog new tricks. That's what I'm trying to drive at.
Well, for me and Jody, I didn't know the difference between a resource salary and inclusion salary. And then when I got here, there was even a middle school autism one that was only at the middle school. So like that, and that one eventually I was told by predecessor to move that one because that one didn't make sense at the time. So
Yeah, I mean, by having two, if you were really distinguishing them out, you'd have basically three categories. Because you'd have your SEL, you'd have your self-contained, and then you'd have your regular special education teachers. So even this, like, they weren't matching. Some of them were still just like put in one bucket, even though it should have been 3 buckets. So we made it one bucket, so it made more sense. But
The one thing we do need to check is the elementary.
Yep.
You got that right?
I gotta know.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, pond and
Leaps and bounds.
Leaps and bounds?
Make sure that
22 and 23.
which
Mhm.
block we're in.
I have six on my list, but I don't know if that matters.
What I'm doing next?
Yeah.
I got, so then when we get to the elementary school inclusion salary, I have 6.
So that does include your leaps and bounds and your pond. So it might be duplicate in both.
All right, so
We
might
don't
just
have
save some more
duplicate
money
names,
here.
though.
Wait a minute. So
Okay.
where's 22 and 23 if they're in here?
They're not.
They're not, they should be in the other one, in the
Fix it.
budget side of it, they should be on this side of it.
But I would have a duplicate name and I don't have, mine's by name.
All right, so we just gotta go through and check the list.
Right. So I had said earlier when Amy was here,
I'll save
I will
it.
verify my list with her and now with Jody tomorrow to make sure that we have everybody where they have to be.
So you're saying that some of the folks in that 6 are in the
I
other.
don't know if the 21 and
I-
23 numbers are accurate.
Okay.
I
Take a
don't,
look.
I don't think I know they're not duplicated because I would have the same name.
Okay.
We'll stick with 6.
We're gonna leave it to the professionals for now. 6.
Keep the 6 in here. It matches, I believe, the middle school number. Shouldn't do that. As far as how we're. polling.
7.
Yeah.
Wait,
Wait a minute.
I'm on elementary school.
Elementary school was 6, middle school 7.
Yep.
Okay.
High school is 3. Yeah, I didn't get a nod from you on that one. I got a little
Yep.
scared. Okay. District-wide ELL salary, that is 0.5. Preschool is 1. Elementary school speech is 0.6. High school speech is 0.4. Then under the 500 113s, I've got 1, 2, 2. The tutors and the extended school year salary, so the 10,560 and the $100,000, those are multiple people. I don't have totals for those yet. Social workers, 2.
Did you skip? You had DW too, as you said, so the extended one you don't know yet either?
Nope,
We'll take yours.
Oh, that's almost. Okay. So I,
so social worker, next after that, Joe is 2. Then the elementary school BCBA, 1, 1, 1, 1. Page 2,
up, can we, before we go to,
Yep.
can we back up for a second? After school. Summer school, I think you said that was?
mhm,
Okay, well, the summer school, I thought with the program that we were gonna be using, we would be doing some of that, more of that
It's
out.
high school.
that's high
So this is
school.
Just for,
This
This
is
is special
just,
ed.
Special education.
gotcha.
And I don't have it in front of me, but we were at 97 this
this past summer.
summer.
97 what?
1,000.
In salaries.
What line are we talking about, please?
We are talking about line number 11280019.
Oh, the 100,000 flat.
Mhm. On page 1,
Mhm.
page 2. 1, I do have to change the title for that top one. It's district-wide psychologist.
I was confused by the other.
I think,
Interesting title.
yeah, I changed it throughout the budget. That one just missed it. So those top 2 and the district-wide OT, that's 1.
Mhm.
So I did tell Terry today, as I was getting ready for tonight, I found a small error on the elementary school. We had a lot of movement when I was trying to put the budget together with people coming and going and then moving from one place to the preschool and vice versa. So I'm supposed to have 15 people budgeted there. But what I have in my accounting system is $28,000 higher than what is there
So
because of those adjustments I made. So that's just something to bring to your attention, that if we can add that to that figure.
which object code are you referencing?
112-00119, 500,
Object code is 11,
500, 114.
okay.
That first one,
Yep.
333,
So
609,
you're saying it's budgeted by
under budget by 28,
add
yes,
28 what?
187.
Thank you.
And that will put us at 15, 16,
Hold on.
7,
Sorry, back up. I was writing down the other number.
sorry,
So, elementary school was
15,
15.
middle school is 16.
Yep.
High school is 7. Preschool is 6.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the speech aid is 1. Special ed office clerical salary, that's 1. Then everything else after that, excuse me, is all the health, dental. I'm over on page 4 for life, page 5, long-term disability, social security. And that is going to wrap it up on page 7 with the benefits and salaries. And then I'll turn it over to Cody and Ken. Thanks, ladies.
Before I get into page 7, I just want to go over a little bit of, update that department. So there's 246 students either with current IEPs or in process, so the referral process, and that is pre-K through 12. That does include all your added. There are 98 students, grades K through 12 with 504 plans.
How many was it? 96 or something?
98.
There are 19 students placed in out-of-district placements, which includes your private placements where we place students, your special education placements where we place students, your placements, your manifest educational hardship cases, your legal agreements.
I'm sorry, Jody, could you give me the number again for the out 19?
And that's under the 112000119 private special ed tuition.
These are just general numbers, right?
These are just general numbers. I'm just.
The information prior to budget.
Data of the department, and then I'll get into, I thought it might just help.
So what would you, what shorten the 19? What would you call that?
Out of district.
What was the, oh, just, I didn't really hear it. Okay.
Yeah, out of the.
Okay.
And then I've been trying to figure out kind of how to present this information because it can be identifiable if you do it individually. So I looped a few to kind of give you some additional information on other students that we support within this department. So between charter school students that have IEPs that we require, we're required to provide specialized services to those students because there's also additional students that attend charter schools that do not have IEPs. So students that have IEPs that attend charter schools, foster care students, students that might be hospitalized and are receiving tutoring support for the temporary basis, and then homeless students equals 20 students. Unfortunately, I cannot break that down any less. So we're looking at a total budget increase of $872,840. I'm gonna run through, again, this is just some of the quick basics, and then I will go through all of the lines. Transportation is up, of that $872,840. Transportation is up approximately, I'll estimate it, but $86,000. And that's basically due to rate changes. It's still the same amount of buses and monitors. There's field trips included with that. John, I will go through the lines and just give in the overview. In addition, tuition placements is up $194,000. Behavior coaches last year was in regular education. It just got moved into the student services department budget for this year, so notice that difference. And then you'll notice that the speech assistant is now in this budget as well. So on page 7. The first couple lines, I moved money around, but the total figures did not change. So for professional development, whether it's professional development, in which case where, we have people come in and provide training, or we send people out. So an example of training that we've had people come in and provide is some students have communication devices and staff need to learn how to utilize those communication devices. So we brought people in to provide that training. So for that first line on page 7, it's $5,000.
Actually, page 8 for us.
I got 7.
I got 7.
Good.
For 500,321 and 1200019.
241.
Yeah, page 7. Bottom.
Just after it talks about.
Oh, goodness.
You got it?
Yeah, sorry. I thought that was just, I skipped over it.
So then on page 8, this is professional development where we would send individuals out for professional development. This in the past has included some director conferences that deans have attended, some case manager academies, some training on SEL skills for teachers, CPI. There's also might start some kind of been taken out of the Project Aware grant as well. We are being mindful of Title II funding and trying to do as much as we can do for PD. But with Project Aware, we still see the need for this. Just to give you an idea, last year we spent almost $30,000 on PD just out of the Project Aware grant. These two numbers did not change. I just moved money around. The district-wide tutoring, I increased that slightly. I mentioned this last year. It still happens this past year. Hospital tutoring. So if a student is hospitalized and we're paying somebody else to provide the tutoring, this is the line that it comes out of. It keeps incorrectly coming out of the contract district-wide line. So I'm being mindful of that moving forward, making sure it's coming out of this line. But we are right around that mark for what we're paying throughout the year. The contract line, this did go down. We expected it to go down because we hired internally our own BCBAs. I had hoped that it would go down additional from this, but we've also had some additional unanticipated specific student needs increase that have required other areas to increase. We have students with hearing impairments, vision impairments, medical needs, very specialized skills that need to be provided and services to those students. So that is included in this figure. Also within this figure, you have, obviously we have a huge contract with Boothby. That's in here as well, and that includes your preschool OT, which is part-time. You have also your OT part-time at high school. You have your elementary speech full-time. You have a speech assistant at the elementary part-time. You have a full-time speech at the middle school, and you have district PT. And then other services as needed. So they also do, like, again, communication devices and some other special areas. I do want to comment that, let me go to my other page. While you don't see a huge decrease right now from the contract line to the BCBAs, if you go back and look 2 years back, we spent for Constellations in the school year 22-23, we spent $854,000 with Constellations for BCBA support.
Don't remind me.
In the 23-24 school year, we spent $502,000, and that was when we brought in a different outside provider. We still had Constellations in some capacity, but we were reducing that. This year, with my calculations with our internal BCBAs, including benefits, we're looking at about $418,000. So in the last 2 years from moving away from Constellations, we have saved roughly $430,000 just in the BCBA support.
Tony?
So you mentioned that we had Constellations previously and we're working our way away from them. So they used to provide, behavior plans for students with behavioral issues, right?
Yes,
Now, do they still do that or do we have someone else that does that or do we not do that anymore? Or what, how does that all?
we have a BCBA dedicated for each building, so they're wage pool employees now. We have one per building, and they do all of the behavior support plans.
And they're tasked with making sure that people follow up and follow those plans?
Yes. Yep, with Fidelity, and they're working on training individuals as well, so they understand how to provide those supports. Your next line, I decreased slightly, that's for your independent educational evaluations that parents have the right to ask for after we conduct internal assessments. If they disagree with our findings, they have a right, by law to ask for those. Typically, one alone costs between $6,000 to $8,000. So I just reduced it, slightly based on kind of our current athlete budget. At any given year, we could have 0 or we could have 4.
Where are you looking at that?
Your line where it says,
Pet supplies district-wide?
district-wide site professional services.
It's hard to see, Cindy.
500, 323.
Oh,
1214.
All right.
contracted.
7019.
Okay, so could you repeat what that was for again?
Yep, so it's for your independent educational evaluations, which families have a right to request after a district conducts evaluations. If families disagree with the district's findings or assessments, they can ask for what's called an independent educational evaluation, which is where we have to go and pay for the child to get evaluated outside the district. It's usually, the parents usually have a specific person who they want to complete the evaluation. And one of those evaluation on average costs between $6,000 to $8,000. So I essentially budgeted for about 2.
Okay, so what would be the range of evaluation? Like, would it be medical or behavioral or all?
It's usually your educational, so your academic, your cognitive, your behavioral, those are usually the ones that the parents ask for the supporting, but it's usually when they ask for that, it's a full evaluation. It's not like one area.
Coach up.
You said the parents get to pick out who evaluates them. Isn't that a slight conflict of interest to, I mean, I know some people that, you know, would pick out the easiest person that will sit there and write off just about anything to a parent because they just want them out of their hair because they've been bugging them for so long. And I'm amazed the state doesn't have a set, like a CPA. If you're gonna get something evaluated, you have a set criteria. These are the people you go to.
I mean, so we have a policy that outlines that like they're supposed to be credentialed or like in the state of New Hampshire unless there's nobody else available with that skill set. So like there are some rules that they need to follow. And we can provide the family with some names and some resources of people that we recommend, but at the end of the day, as long as they fit what the requirements are, they can pick the person. And then when we get that report back, our duty is to review it and determine if we're going to accept any of the recommendations. You're not obligated to accept what's in that report. We have to review it.
Tony?
So we're speaking about evaluations and all that stuff. Where does that fall in with like the whole child find process and early identification? And where would we find the cost and stuff associated with that? Would that be preschool or would that be here or what?
There's not typically a big cost associated with, I mean, that usually goes through like the referral process, right?
Mhm.
And that typically starts with our own internal employees. And it's just part of their day. So if there's a concern and somebody comes in with a referral, whether it's preschool student, a student that's, 2.5, going to be coming into preschool, whether it's a A student that is homeschooled, attends a charter school, they have a right to go through the child find process and get the evaluation, and that's conducted typically by our own staff, unless the distance is such that we decide to have somebody else do it. But that's different than this individual educational evaluation.
So is that based on any criteria that individual, the one you said? Like, or can I just as a parent just saying, I want this until you give it to me?
So basically, if we assessed a child in academics and cognitive, and we looked at, primarily reading, writing, and math, and then cognitive profile, and the parents disagreed with that finding, they have to disagree with our report. They then can ask for this, but they have to disagree. They can't agree and say we also want. They're not happy with the report. They disagree with the report. They feel it's biased or whatever, rhyme or reason they have, and then they can make the request. But we have to already evaluate in that area. So if they come back and say, we want additional testing and we want to look at social emotional learning, and we didn't test in that area, we can come back and say, you have nothing to disagree with. So we can conduct those internally. And then if you disagree with those, then they could seek it. We have had parents before that, have asked for it randomly, and the student was tested 2 years ago, and they accepted the findings 2 years ago, and there's really nothing that they're disagreeing with. In those cases, we say, we need to internally assess your child first, and then we can go this route if you still disagree. But they don't just get it at any point. Question? Hasn't changed. Homeless transportation has not changed. Again, most of that comes out of our Title I grant. Special education transportation, like I indicated previously, that went up about $86,000, and that is primarily based on the rates changing. So currently it is per day for a bus route, it's $387.23. Next year, going up to $406.59. A monitor currently that's accurate. I have a monitor next year is $39.06. Yep, and right now it's $26.81. And then again, there's also field trips. If the bus runs over 5 hours per day, so if the bus runs over 5 hours, it's in the morning and your PM route, and we get charged an additional. This also includes the students that we transport during summer. Some students in our out of district placements, they attend for the whole summer, so we also transport them. So we have to consider all of that.
Good, Tony.
Are you allowed to tell us how many students this special ed transportation covers?
There's 15 current buses. I have the amount of students not with me. I couldn't break it out per route or bus, but I could give you the overall number that we have.
Those are 15, like the smaller buses or vans even?
Yes,
You want the total number of students or?
I don't need it right now.
Okay.
but
Like Friday memo.
Yeah,
Okay.
there we go.
so you would like it.
I'm gonna do the 15.
I just wanted to make
This
sure.
week.
I've got a running list.
Yeah.
Since yesterday, so I just want to make sure I get you guys everything I can.
Or I'll see you Monday and Tuesday, whatever I can do. Doesn't matter.
Special ed office communications and posted.
Question for, not for Jody, but Terry and Margaret. There's special education is 1,100 for communications. Is there a reason why it didn't go up?
I did not budget that one. That's a
Couldn't
different thing.
I don't have copper lines.
They don't have no copper lines. It might be just the phone lines, the
Okay, could
fiber optic
you
one.
answer it?
Matt,
Oh,
That one? Communications
I
line?
think I might have put it in there with the question marks. So it might be something that we, yeah,
Okay,
connected on.
I will look into that, John.
thank you.
Yep.
Are there communications under the SAU?
Yeah,
We don't break it out for individual.
that's why I was under the assumption that it might have been like for hotspots or something like that for certain students that are at their house. But I can look into it.
Thank you.
Your tuition within state on page 9, very top. So this is primarily your charter school tuitions, and when I say tuition, I don't actually mean tuition because we don't pay charter schools tuition for the kids, we pay for the services. So the charter schools, student requires specialized instruction and reading, and we reimburse the charter to provide that service unless we provide it ourselves. So based off of our current needs, there's are none at the elementary level. Your middle school is going up, and your high school is going down. Private out of district.
What object code are you referring to at this time?
I'm on 11-12-00-119, 500-569.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next 3 lines, you'll see your elementary, your middle, and your high school special education private tuition lines. These are where we place the students for the private specialized instruction. With IEPs, your elementary is going down, your middle and your high school are going up. And primarily this is just due to movement of students. So right, you have your transition of students that move from grade to grade.
Go ahead, Steve.
Is that the representing the, if I wrote it down right, 39 students that you were talking about, the 19 out of district, and then there were 20 others? Or is that just the 19 out of district?
It's just the 19 out of district.
Thank you.
Moving on to special ed mileage. I decreased this a little based off of actuals. This is for mileage reimbursement for anybody going to conferences within things. Parent reimbursement, if for some reason we're reimbursing the parents for transporting their child, sometimes happens in this situation in particular. When buses are not available. I'm gonna move on to the supply lines. There are a bunch of supply lines. Unless you want me to go through each one individually, I was planning on saying that some went up, some went down slightly. The ones that went up primarily are due to losing the Project Aware grant. Last year from that grant, we spent almost $29,000 on supplies and almost $11,000 on books, which is a significant amount of supplies and books from the grant. So there's increases to take care of any potential supply we have for the various programs and student needs within the different buildings.
What kind of supplies would you like generally put on these?
Yeah, so they could be your basic like markers, glue. At the preschool, you get a lot of those markers and glue, crayons. It also might be very specific to a student that needs to learn a skill set and they need a different type of manipulative or interactive game maybe to try to help teach them that skill set. That would be included as well, but a lot of it's your consumables. In more of the high school level, sometimes they also do some, cooking activities where they're trying to teach students like measurement skills or life skills, and they're doing some basic, cooking, so that would be included in it. For the assessment one, it's all your like new psychological assessments. So if you have an assessment and the new version came out, you're only supposed to use the old version for up to a year. So then you need to replace them. So it would cover, you know, buying some additional assessments that up to 4 protocols as well, because you have the protocol booklet that you use with the students, and we only buy so many of those at a time to run out. Your subscription line. So I am at the top of page 10. Not the top, slightly below the top. Your district-wide SPED periodicals. This is primarily subscriptions. So this includes items such as our unique program that we're using in our self-contained programs. I talked about that program before. It's being used in the elementary, the middle, and the high school leaps and bounds and connections programs as part of their curriculum, which was required by the state as the self-contained program approval. And that is on any subject matter essentially that the student needs and the teacher needs. They can pull from it, they can print things, they can have a student work at their own pace, have them do it on the computer. So it includes that program. It includes a large amount of it includes our contract with PIF. Again, we've had this conversation. Much of that contract we're not utilizing, unfortunately. We're trying to get out of that contract and we've been unable to do so, but we still owe on that. There is the Catalyst program that we brought on, which is supporting the self-contained programs for your students with autism to help track the data for students that have discrete trial programming. Master Teacher is included in this. That is a PD subscription that the paraeducators use to help them acquire their hours for their certification. There's, this also includes some iPad apps. So if you have a student that has communication needs and they require a specific app to be able to utilize for the communication, which typically costs about $200 each, that is included in this. There's a reading program included. There is potentially, we have not decided yet, this actually is not included in this. We have to figure out if we're going to try to cut costs or maybe work with vendors to reduce costs. But those also software systems we want to start utilizing for storing our 504 and making it easier for people to be able to view the 504s, upload, track everything. It's similar to our IEP data system that the state provides us, which is free. This is a minimal cost. So we're also looking to see if we can get that for the district as well.
John?
Go ahead. What was the,
I want to say Pez for some reason. I know that's not what it was. The contract that we can't get out of.
PIF.
If, okay. But what's the reason again for, I mean, how long is the contract going for?
I think it's in,
5 years,
I think it's another 2 years.
60 months.
So are they not giving us the service that we need or?
Can't find the manpower,
Well, so part of
part of it.
the PIF is scanning, which I'm going to talk about when we get to the initiatives. So part of it is scanning, but then the bulk of it has to do with, it was basically a system where we have special education forms and they were getting built in to PIF. And then you would go in and you would utilize PIF to create kind of all of your special ed forms. You would fill them out and then they would store them in like a cloud-based system. The problem is that we still are going to have cheaper versions because we don't have everything else uploaded in electronic. So then everything wasn't together. And then in the meantime, we also changed the forms and they had already inputted all the old forms that, and some of the forms didn't have like simple things like places for parents to sign that they were in agreement with things. So like simple, but very important things. So they had already done a lot of the forms, and then for us to ask them to make all the changes, there was gonna be additional costs with that as well. But in talking to staff, they really wanted to utilize this program because it was double work for everybody. It wasn't actually streamlining the process. It was creating double the work for everybody. That was prior to Mike and John, Marjorie and I, it's one of the first things we looked at, trying to get out of the contract with the language. It was, basically impossible.
What's that contract for a year, per year?
About 11,000, I believe.
So they're not giving us anything because they can't, but they're gonna make us pay.
So it's basically like we're leasing the equipment, the scanning equipment that they gave us. And the problem is we don't have everybody, everybody already has like a full plate, you know what I mean?
Right.
So to try to find that time to somebody to get it to scan everything that we need scanned, it's just impossible.
So as the initiative, and we'll get to that point, it is to help correct some of those problems, with the scanning, because we're already paying for this.
So sorry, when you say scanning, you mean physically put a piece of paper on a scanner? Legit just scanning? Okay.
There was also, I think, talk about when we were doing the same thing about having the scanning technology placed on the copiers that we have. But I don't remember why we didn't go that route. I don't know if it was more money, if it was more work, the way that one was handled, because I think through PIF, like once you scan it, it's supposed to pick up certain words on that document and file it where it needs to go automatically.
So it's an AI type.
So PIF, yeah, I was gonna say, so PIF has some document understanding in it.
I was gonna say, I use like a scanning, but we have a client ID, you put that scan, you just click right on it, it goes to that client ID, you put it in there, you name it what you want, and it goes right in. It takes
Yeah,
5 minutes, if that.
so like our copiers here, so when we scan to them, what I typically do is I scan to myself, I save it in my files, and then I email it to whoever needs to have it, or I just save it on my files if it's just something for me. Or you can just scan, like if I needed to scan Jody's something, I'll scan it to her. If I don't like to do that, I like to have the proof that I actually mailed it to her instead of just forwarding something from the copier. But I know that there was some kind of like software we could have gotten, but I think it was worse than PIF, if I remember
Yeah, if the
correctly.
goal was during the summertime, I could go out and do some scanning. It
Yeah,
was on the copier. If
I get the copy to work at.
I know, Tony. I could get,
I mean, we've all offered to pitch
I
in
could
and
get 2
help.
hours and I could be out
Like
there and I
when-
could do some scanning,
Like if I could
you know,
save like an hour,
couldn't make it happen.
on like a Friday afternoon and help them out and do it, but
Can you scan it somewhere else and send it to PIF? Or does it have to be scanned in?
it has to be scanned, I believe, on
in
there.
PIF. So that, again. so
And that's what we're paying
components to
for.
PIF. So like one is like, they're supposed to streamline the forms for you, so they upload into the same cloud base and they put it into the files for you. That's part of it. We're not doing that part of it. And then the other part is scanning. We are scanning, but it's slow because we don't have the staff and the time and the resources to be able to dedicate to scanning.
This was one of my first
Dirty detention.
head explosions when I got hired here. I lost my mind.
And it's one of those things too. Yeah, I can offer to, I'll clear my schedule on a Friday afternoon. I'll spend, an hour helping them scan the stuff. But, I lost my train of thought. But the amount for me just to do that for that 1 hour, I'm sure that they've already accumulated that week, like probably 3 more hours of stuff to scan.
The only reason I ask, the only reason I ask is like, I have a multifunction device at the house that cost me like $200 that I can put a stack in and it'll scan everything and send it to a file, but it's not a special, it's just a PDF of each page. That's why I asked, like, does it have to be up? Because that seems a little crazy. That they don't have like you can just bulk scan. Yeah. My head's right behind yours right now. I mean, I get it. That's what we had at the time, but
Right. And going down the rabbit hole a little bit, we're already there, right?
yeah.
So part of the problem is that, okay, so you find somebody that can do this. Okay, most of the documents are gonna be stapled together. Some are gonna be single-sided, some are gonna be double-sided. How does the equipment know if it's single-sided or double-sided? It probably doesn't. So if you're doing double-sided, now you're probably scanning blank pages, right? So, and then if there's been so many staples on that one page, now you gotta make a copy of it before you can make a scan of it,
It's all confidential information, right? Like,
right? Like,
Well, yeah, that's why I was asking about the.
like it's so time consuming.
If you put 100 page, it doesn't matter if you
11,000.
put just 100 individual pages, it'll just go and then it'll separate it into separate documents, but it doesn't have all the bells and whistles for the security of that.
I like that. So I like that sound.
That, it's a good sound. It's a fast sound.
And you can't just walk away from it because papers get like stuck and jammed if you try to put too much in there. So.
Just like me going through the minutes from 1952, you know what I'm saying? I'm consuming.
Listen, I'm not a fan of that process either. But we gotta do
I
it.
mean, it all, so.
Compared to our copies, is this like a desktop scanner that this?
Yes.
My head, I mean, I know it sounded like a good idea.
For 11,000,
Well, yeah, but it's something so you could,
it's the program.
it's the program and stuff like that, but. I mean, now they have even more technology where you could, again, if you put one on. Copiers at home, at the SAU office or whatever, I mean, those things can go through 100 pages in 2 minutes.
I just want to clarify this. So the scanner is about $2,000 per year. For the scanner and the scanning program and ability. So you scan things that goes into the cloud system. The other 9,000 is the part that we're not utilizing at all, which is the form-based program, which basically equals our Google Docs people are storing in Google Drive.
So with so those are documents that we created that if we change, they're gonna charge us more for. So basically, we changed documents and they're refusing to change them without us paying more money.
Because of some of the changes, they would work with us on some of them, but not the bulk of them. But in addition to that, it was double the work. So like the staff didn't want to do it. We haven't pushed the staff to do it because it's duplicating all the efforts on the staff for everybody to do that.
So we're doing it in Google Docs instead of,
We're doing it in
Pef.
Google Docs,
So it's
we're
called
printing things out and doing it,
Wow.
in the meeting, like on paper. Because the problem is we're not fully electronic yet with our doc, right? Like we still have a lot of paper files and then we're trying to get more electronic. But
Yeah.
by having that program, I think the intent was that we would become electronic, but we're so far from there that that program doesn't aid us. It actually complicates things. It creates more work. And you still have to, even if you put it there and you store it, you still have to like print everything and you have to still put it in the hard paper file because there are certain things that you can't really upload to the program necessarily because you can't necessarily upload them because they're like paper products or they're your IEPs, which is housed in a different software system.
So this is gonna be this was planned, I'm guessing, for those tons of boxes we have down in the basement, which we need to keep until the person, I believe, is 65 now. And we were gonna scan those in so we wouldn't have to keep thousands of pieces of paper down in the basement because it's getting a little crowded down there.
Yes.
But we just don't have the time. And the software people aren't exactly working with us too much right now, but I mean, definitely just scanning the part in, we don't have anybody to do it. And it's gonna be, you're talking a lot of money. I'm amazed that they still have us keep until a person's 65. I don't know who needs it when they're 60, but that's what the government says.
Students or who's gotta be 65?
Any student with an IEP or anything like that, the documents we must keep until they're 65 years old.
really?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's
So 50 more years of graduation class from today.
the whole file you have to keep until the student's 25th birthday, and then you have to hold on to the last signed IEP. So again, if we were electronic and all those things were scanned and electronic already, and then we could move and say, okay, we're getting rid of paper files, like, right? If we're getting rid of this, everything's gonna be electronic. The other portion of the PIP would work. But we're just so far from there because we have so much paper still that we could do it for our select like preschool students that we basically moved to say, we're doing electronic because we're starting fresh. They're gonna be, you know, all electronic files. But that's a small amount of students that we could start using the other PIF program for, and then we have to convince them to change all the things. So as far as the scanning side of things, I'm hoping, again, we're not at the initiative side of things yet, but I'm hoping through that initiative, we can make progress with that basement and scanning and taking care of all the files so that we can become more electronic based.
So is the PIF combined program worth the money if we were using it to its fullest extent? Is that something, or is there another, I guess the question I'm trying to ask is it worth starting to get caught up on PIF? Are we looking to move to a different type of software or a different product? Or do we have other options even? I don't even know what software lives in this world, but.
I mean, I think Google essentially does the same thing. If people upload things and then create individual student folders.
It sounded like, and maybe I misunderstood, that this has some specialized utility for document understanding, and I imagine Google's gonna have it soon anyway, but I guess my thought is if we're gonna start a migration from paper to digital, wouldn't we just sort of pick a line in the sand and say, from this point forward, every new student is digital only? And then only print the things we need to print. Because whether we're playing for PIF or it's Google, we have to start that migration at some point in time.
So that's what the preschool's done, except they're doing Google based versus
Versus PIF.
PIF,
Okay.
because we weren't planning on continuing with PIF. Again, if we were there, yeah, I think there could be some value to the system, but we're so far from there.
Okay. So not worth renewing or looking at.
Not in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's more important to scan everything and get everything scanned, right? And then we can create our system that we want that's gonna work, that could still be electronic based. And then if we get to the point where we think at that point, PIF would be great in years to come, that's always another option to explore, but for the cost, I don't think it does anything much different from other programs we can use.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So is the tech person involved in this? Like, is he involved? Like, my thing is if you scan it all and you put it into, say, Google, you gotta know, like, that's gotta be like, what, owned by the school, or you have a
Yeah, he's
place
kind
to
of
store. And then you're gonna have to pay for storage, right? Eventually you have to pay to upgrade your storage on Google and all that.
So I will say for PIF, for the scanning, because again, it's my hope that all the old files we can scan. There's like a buyout program. I think it's like $1 basically, that once it's uploaded in the cloud system at the end, you own it. So anything that's scanned there, you can still access it. And then as far as the storage requirement for Google, that would be a technology question as far as the direction that we're moving in, but I haven't heard that because he's been involved in like the preschool files and stuff that we've been doing.
All set, Cindy.
Yeah, so I'm just, am I hearing that you're just gonna like do away with the PIP thing then?
That's the intent as of now.
Even though we have to pay for it, because it's not really worth anything. Because that was my thing, is if you were gonna go to the PIP thing and then after 2 years, then what do you do? Okay.
Go ahead, Joe.
So I had to go here with Cindy a little bit. So you've already sat there and said we're gonna move on to like a Google type scan. That's what we're doing now with the,
That's what
Okay.
that's what we're trying right now. Yeah.
with the documents there. You said you're gonna scan them. How are we gonna scan the documents? Because as far as I know, there's nothing at the SAU office except for the PIF scanner. And we're not scanning those on the PIF, correct? Or are we?
For the things that we're not,
The things that are already in the basement, say.
the things that are already in the basement, the plan is to scan them through PIP.
Okay,
Yes. Well, I say that's the plan. If the initiative is approved.
so,
We're gonna.
Oh, so you can,
Support.
so I have another question. If you scan those in the PIF, I know we can say buy it out for $1 and we have the cloud, but do we still need to have a certain subscription to them so we can access it?
No.
Okay,
hopefully.
Awesome.
No, Marjorie and I looked at that before when we tried to get out of the contract originally.
Okay.
We asked that question specifically, if we're gonna like lose it or there's additional costs. They said we would own it at that point and we'd be able to do it.
Steve,
Okay, so this might be a little silly, I suppose, but if we're not planning on using PIF going forward, really, for what it's fully used for, we're not gonna maintain PIF as a folder, not a folder, sorry, a form structure. We're just gonna use Google. Why would we only worry about using the PIF scanner? Why wouldn't we just use a regular scanner and scan into Google directly? Because then you could do much larger volumes. Not that the initiative does, I'm not trying to hurt your initiative at all. I'm trying to say, it sounds like we have one scanner for PIF and we are focused on having one person sitting at one scanner, where if we kind of throw PIF out the window, for lack of a better term, and just scan, we could easily, with regular office scanners, scan hundreds of documents into PDF, and then you can put them in Google wherever you want. And it's a much more, you could hit a much wider number of documents at any given time. This person could be manning 2 or 3 scanners at once, literally, and scanning stacks of documents and go through hundreds of pages if we didn't have to focus on just PIF. So I guess my question really is, why are we bothering PIF scanner if we're not going to use the PIF process?
So I know the storage capacity of Google, but I do know one of the points that I'm looking at the PIF for scanning, it had like this, I don't want to say unlimited ability, but it could support a lot of the documentations that we wanted to scan and save, and it was secure. I do know people have questions about the security of Google, which have been more recent conversations
Right.
as well, as far as do we feel secure with that? And there's still a little bit of debate, but that's the direction we've been moving in, because we've been feeling like we can figure out the privacy settings and, like, you know, who has access and who doesn't have access. But when we first started this conversation, I don't think people were comfortable with Google at all. Like when we first started the scanning, we
Yeah,
weren't using Google. We weren't doing anything electronic with Google. So I see your question.
yeah.
But when we originally got it, we weren't using Google in that capacity, if that.
wonder-
One answer, and I don't know now, like what makes the most sense, if we should just get rid of PIF, but paying for it, using it, it can hold a lot of information. It is very easy to find because it does save it a certain way, and you can just go in and you can do like a quick search and it will pull up anything that's related to that student.
So it's not just the scan as a database. Yeah, maybe we can ask Matt to help look into it, because it seems like we're going through some pains to use a specific scanner and process that if there's an alternative that we can do securely and keep to, I'm sure there's guidelines in the RSAs about what we have to do to keep these files secure and have the longevity, and Google storage is cheap. I get like 2 terabytes for $3 a month. It's really not a lot. But there might even be other storage options.
We have quite a bit of storage.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think storage is really the concern as much as the process and the security, but sorry, I know we're way off topic, but.
I was gonna ask, are we all set with the, you want more of this?
No, not that. Moving on from this, but
I didn't know. I thought you said you wanted
No,
to
not
ask
more of this.
another,
I
okay.
do have another question. Well, not another question, however,
So on PIF related,
unPIF related,
okay,
student services related and general education. So between 2020, the 21-22 budget, to today's budget. And then we kind of went over this. I think I talked about this yesterday here about the Hampshire School Board Association. Somebody did a whole graph about like 10 years or whatever and how much. So our special education cost went up 55% in those years. Regular education cost, everything else but what's in the student services went up 7.69%. And from what he was saying, that's about what it is everywhere.
Looks like about 100% to me. I don't know, but
Big.
2.9 to 5.7 is almost like 95% now.
all set on that?
I have another
I
question.
didn't know where,
That was just a statement.
no, that's fine. I just want to make sure I didn't want to. Cindy and then
Just a
Marjorie.
Question, with those statistics, is that, like, that's the whole price, but do we have the same amount of students?
I'd
Is that per
we'd have to
student?
really, it changes every year. so-
Like, if we have more students, that would make sense that our budget would go up.
Well,
We have
right-
more bus routes, more.
average like 22%.
Well, right now, we're 32%, I believe, about for between IEPs, IEPs, 504s and out of districts. is about
30% for, students with IEPs and 504
Yeah,
combined. It's like 21 and 9.
yeah.
So what, like, what was it in 21? Like, was it, like, right now
They'd
it's
have to-
30%?
Yeah, I don't have that data.
It's been right around the same,
Yeah.
quite a while now. It's,
We're higher than average
Yeah.
usually.
And I know in previous school board presentations, like I've shared some of the past data as far as students with IEPs. So that would be easy to come back and get, because I've already calculated that. I don't think this district necessarily kept track of 504 plans the same way that we're keeping track of them now. I don't think I can go back to that year and be able to accurately get a number for students with 504 plans.
Good. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
All right, so moving on to equipment. All right, so the equipment line, has gone up. This is for various needs. One could be various technology utilized to help students be able to hear their surroundings within the classroom. So it's like an amplification device. Sometimes it's specialized seating for students that need it, that might have, eating groups, or medical concerns with eating. In particular, in this, there is a request from the preschool to purchase and install a canopy for the preschool playground, which is about $5,000, in part because they spend a fair amount of time out there during PSY, and we have some medically fragile students, and the heat has become overwhelming for some of our students.
For how much?
5,000. I'm sure we could look into that more, but the individual that put the request in, I believe, did reach out to the college.
is this like over the entire playground set or?
It's over the playground structure.
So just like I say plastic, it's not plastic, but the slides and stuff like that, and that generally, it's not like all over
It's not the
the
entire.
screens and stuff like that, so, okay.
It's just to be able to keep the sun and the heat out a little bit.
Do you know what type of material that would be made out of?
I don't. Yeah. I mean, I know that the individual that requested, they had the specific one they were looking at, so I could get that, but I don't have it readily available.
All right. Anything else on your budget you want to share, Jody?
No, I think everything else is essentially the same or has gone down.
All right. Any questions? Go ahead.
I have-
Any questions, comments on the operating budget? Go ahead, Tony.
My last question is, all this discussion about student services, do we have anything in place to, for the mental health of the faculty or staff? Like, is there someone they can go to talk to somebody, or do we have anything to help them if they need it?
I'll give that question to you.
It's a good question.
I mean, I think I can answer that informally. The fact that any of our behavioral health staff are naturally supporting any of our teachers or other staff and debriefing after crises. There's no formal structure around it. That's not formally part of anyone's job descriptions, but
It's available.
yeah,
They do have health insurance.
I mean,
Yeah,
The health insurance
and
helps with that.
Yeah.
I will say for students that, while certain things are not required, but just like best practice, right? Or just like how we all want to support each other. If a student has been, like physically restrained, you have to fill out the, restraint paperwork. There is supposed to be a debriefing process after the fact where staff can get the support. So sometimes it can be traumatic for the student, but it also can be traumatic for the staff that are involved in that situation. And I know the schools are working to be better and more diligent of making sure that those debriefing sessions happen, because sometimes everything's moving so fast, right? And you've gotten a student back to baseline, everything seems calm, and then you've moved on to another student matter, and there wasn't really time to debrief in the moment.
You know, everyone has to go back to class and go
Yeah.
about their day, right?
So the schools are getting better about figuring out time to come back together after some of those bigger situations, to say, let's check in. How's everybody doing? What do you need? And I know I've been part of conversations with staff, letting them know, like, hey, if you're in one of those situations and you still need a break from that student, like you're not calm yet, you're not regulated yourself, right? Like if we're not regulated, we can't help support other individuals become regulated. So people have heard the message too, that like they can ask to be removed from the situation if they need some more time to just decompress themselves and they're not ready to work with maybe a specific student or just students in general. So I think they're starting to hear that message more than they've heard before in the past. It's just trying to figure out the time to fully debrief. But I know some teams have been doing a great job of it this year, which seems to be helping the social emotional needs of our staff in those situations. Those are not the only situations that need to be debriefed that staff might need support with. But I think we're doing a better job trying to give staff what they need.
I think school administration across the 3 schools is also supportive of that. Finding coverage or figuring out how that staff can take a break or do whatever to regulate and get back to the kids.
Right. I think with the, you know, growing incidences of behavioral, you know, issues, that's something that we might want to pay close attention to.
Yeah, I think it was Joe first.
No,
I was first. So I think you might have just said it, but I just wanted to clarify. So and everything you said is great. I'm glad to hear that you're doing that, but it's a very much a reactionary to the situation support afterwards, like an aftermath kind of deal. And maybe they do just sort of on their own, but do we have a structure, I think, and I don't know if this is where you were heading, like sort of a proactive, I know of a situation just because my family, you know, my daughter's in the class, right? There's a classroom where there's a lot of activity in the middle school, and that teacher is dealing with a lot, and there's a lot of destruction in the classroom, and that beyond what's happening in the moment and debriefing from that, do we have an opportunity for her to get support in a general sense of this is very stressful, right? That she wants to be, and she's awesome and she wants to be the best she can be, right? But
that wears you down over time.
Right. So there's a
It can
support
wear you
system
down.
there that do we have that so she can come in and go, hey, even if it's just an hour to,
Right.
you know.
That's kind of where I was going. Like, do we
Yeah.
have something in place to keep these teachers from getting to that point where it's
Right.
like they either
Yeah, 'cause-
have a breakdown or just don't want to do it anymore?
yeah, to your point, if they're not ready to go back even tomorrow, that affects them and affects the kids, it affects everything.
And they should be able to say like, hey, I know I'm having trouble today or whatever it is, if
Yeah.
something's going on like that.
I think every single individual adult human, right, has different needs. So one teacher might need, I need a break from it next class. Another teacher might need, I need 5 days off. Another teacher might need, I need more training, right? So you can't really blanket figure out what all of the
Right.
staff will need. And so I think there's teaming structures in place, right, where they can talk with their colleagues, go to student intervention team, get support, go to the behavioral health department, get support, go to their admin and say what they need. So I think there's the team and the culture there to support them, but they all also have to voice and identify and voice, this is what I need
Right.
for us to meet that need to help them through, right?
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering because I agree. You have to be able to ask for the help,
Yeah.
but and again, I sort of assume folks know, but sometimes it's nice to see a sign that's the Lucy from the old Peanuts cartoon, the doctor is in.
Yeah.
Kind of come in and chat, like just some sort of a sign that says, hey, this is your chance, come in and.
Right, like make it known that this is available, like I'm sure
Right.
they already know, but like kind of
Yeah.
formalize it, so it's like.
Well, and you don't want, if this was a situation, I want to cut you, like, I might feel like I'm intruding, like I don't want to take your time, but if they know this is time,
Mhm.
I can come in, this is what it's for. I don't intruding on that person. So I love everything you're saying. I'm just saying it might be nice if we had like a flag where they could say, hey, this is an opportunity. This is a way to come in or whatever, something.
The white flag. Put a white
White
flag.
flag.
Safe
over your
zone, yeah,
door.
safe zone. Man.
Hello.
Sorry, I know Joe had some too, sorry.
Go ahead, Joe.
Out of district placements, what's been the percentage increase for those? You might not have it with you right now.
The number,
We get a year, yeah.
that would take probably some while to calculate. I know the previous way that, it was just like an Excel spreadsheet where like kids were just kind of like put in and then like crossed out. But it wasn't necessarily clear like when they left out of district placement. So I can dig into some of the spreadsheets I have and
Just like how much,
Last 2 years.
yeah, we'll just say this school charged 2 years ago compared to that last year. compared
What
to
you
this
have.
year. That's the cost,
Yeah.
yes, not
oh, yeah,
individual,
sorry,
yeah.
I thought you meant the numbers.
No, no, no.
So.
That's what I thought, so.
I thought so too.
So typically, on average, your in-state tuitions increase anywhere from, on average, 3 to 5% every year. And your out-of-state average anywhere between 5 to 8% per year, typically. Sometimes it's more than that.
And that can be, they can do that any time of the year, correct?
They don't do it anytime. They have to get approval. The rates are set, at least in New Hampshire, the rates are set. Well, in all the states, the rates are set by the schools and the Department of Education. So there's like a rate setting process that goes into it. So their costs go up each school year. So they go through the process, I think, in the spring, and the rates increase. Unless sometimes we've had situations before where school districts, something, catastrophic happened with, buildings or whatever, and they needed to, on a one-time thing, they needed to increase and charge districts additional funding for the year because they needed to take care of an emergency situation.
Is that for private schools, the private special education schools as well? I thought we were told before that they
I'm
could charge.
understanding your question.
What was that?
I'm understanding your question.
Private, out of
Private special education
district
out of
placement.
district
Yeah,
place.
that's what I'm talking, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking.
Yeah, I think we've heard maybe in the past that,
Can do it anytime.
for lack of a better way of saying it, they had a blank check
Mm.
in the past. I just-
I always see it increase with the beginning of the year again, unless there's a situation where they're short because of something. And then they can come back, they go through a process and then come back and they ask for additional, every year, the tuition goes up. Yeah, they can sometimes change their, not their tuition, sometimes their service rates might change. So if you're getting psychological services,
semantics here now. There we go.
yeah. That might be kind of the disconnect. that
Which
we're-
is charter schools, you said that's all service based.
Yes.
So charter school could change it
Charter
anytime.
charter schools follow their own entire different set of rules. And
You mean the public charter school has a different set of rules than the public regular schools? That's funny. I didn't know that.
yes, and you've heard me go on about the whole MOU process with charter schools before, right? Like they have the advantage right now because again, we have signed MOUs in place with every single charter school right now that we have students in that are receiving special education services. And I think one is playing by the rules of the MOU and every other charter school is trying to create their own rates that are separate from what we've already agreed upon.
Be a new school then.
Why don't we just pay them less than we agreed on?
Haven't learned the ways.
We could play that game too.
I think
you should see some of the invoices. There are certain situations where I cross things off and I'm like, nope,
I'm sure.
per MOU, I am not agreeing to this or this. But you also can't do it too much because then they stop providing services because they're like, okay, district, you provide the services. We don't have the personnel to start sending to all these various schools for the people who get services.
And what is the Department of Education doing to correct that situation?
They're right there to help us as always.
Nothing?
Thoughts and
They're-
prayers, John.
Yeah, thoughts.
They will tell you to include them on emails and they will help support, but they don't have the answers right now. There's nothing right now. So basically, if you're at an impasse and you guys don't agree on the MOU, there's like no process to even come to an agreement on the MOU right now. Nobody's supporting you.
No mediation assigned or anything like that?
Mark, that's pretty good that the people that created the situation don't have any answers to the situations.
So it's a work in progress.
So I don't think anything else on the budget. You want to go over your initiative for the part-time secretary?
So this is about PIP.
This is primarily scanning.
Actually have some, no, I'm not gonna do it, but then somebody knows something on PIF. While you're getting that, go ahead, Jody.
So right now, the department has just been, just task after task after task. You know, we've been through a bunch of audits. We're gonna be going through another audit, so there's always work to be done. And right now, I would like to be spending more time on scanning, to help with the overflow of files within the basement. The code, they're supposed to be fireproof, they're not fireproofed. We do not have a lock at the top of the stairs, so there's, you know, there's a locking mechanism, so that not anybody can walk down there. Cumbersome to locate files, just because they're not stored well. There are certain situations where files are just put in boxes and they're not labeled and you have to go kind of pushing around to locate things. My hope was that if we brought in an additional part-time assistant, that they could focus on scanning the basement to make things electronic and not have files stacked on top of file cabinets, be able to truly locate things. And then in addition to that, be able to dedicate some additional time on Medicaid to hopefully increase our revenues. So I think the thing that we're not able to do on a consistent basis right now with Medicaid is to go into the system on like a weekly basis and just check to see where people are at as far as submitting their services that they've done. And if we had somebody else, I think they could spend more dedicated time going into the system and making sure and sending out reminder emails to staff, just saying, hey, I don't see that you've entered anything for this week. Please go in before, you know, the end of the day on Friday and enter your sessions so that we're not getting in a situation where staff are then trying to find time to back enter things, make mistakes, enter students for services when the student was actually absent. Just ensure that, again, they're doing what's required in the system and hopefully increase the revenues. And it's a fairly minimal cost. It comes out to for about 20 hours a week. It's $24,354.
Go ahead, Tony.
So this would be their only task is to handle this specific job and not be pulled away when you're shorthanded to do other stuff. And then we're in the same situation we're in.
Primarily, this would be their task. I don't want to say that they would never be pulled, but there's nothing right now that's like on my radar for anything that would get pulled. The only thing I can think of is if my current assistant is going to be absent for like a week or 2 weeks or something, and something pressing came in, maybe they could take care of something, or right, like they're out and phone rings, you know, they're going to answer the phone. But this would be the primary two tasks that they would have.
So
Go ahead, Jim.
knowing what the basement kind of looks like, how many files are down there. I mean, just to get the proper fire proof file cabinets would probably cost as much as the person to get up to code. So you look at it, it's a half a dozen one, a dozen the other. We have to do something to make it legal. So, and I'd rather have put the person in there to scan the document so we can just get rid of the crap downstairs. And then, and that can, including file cabinets, because I'm sure, I mean, at $2,000 a pop at Uline, I mean.
We have, between the three schools, 9 secretaries / receptionists. Have we ever looked at looking at what they're doing, and are they doing what we need to have done? And making it more efficient for what they're doing, thus freeing up labor to support other areas. I was gonna ask a question regardless of this.
Yep.
But this is where,
John, since I've been here, I've been looking at it. And I can't make any headway to say, what are we doing? Are we doing it efficiently? The job descriptions, we get work that needs to be completed. And yeah. So yes, I have tried to find a more efficient, better way. And I just can't get there.
okay for now. Anything else for Jody on this? Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, seeing as we didn't do it last night, I wanted to, for the public to understand this, what we're doing. For the 24-25 budget, the total district operating expenses is $30,723,861. The proposed budget that, we started last night with, we've had some ups and downs, but I'm not including that.
We have these numbers in here.
It's the summary of, by department.
5 pages in, 4 pages in.
And
Very deep.
so the 25-26 budget is $31,733,329. And that equates to a difference of $1,968 an increase, or approximately 75 cents per 1,000. I just wanted to give, usually we do that so that everybody knows, so they don't have to count up all the lines.
3.29% increase.
And, so having said that, the only other thing I can think that we need to discuss is our next meeting on this. My thought was, because we've got still outstanding questions, is our next board meeting is November 6th. I just do that because I said the 5th is the voting day and I add 1 and I can do that math, so that, I figure we'll need maybe an hour there, and then after we do that, we could have either schedule a different meeting to narrow down or get to a budget, because that's gonna, as we know, that takes some time and we never always get there at the same time.
Can
So-
you repeat that?
What-
proposition?
Yep, what I'm thinking of
I was kind of.
meeting the next time, because we've got
Okay.
questions that are outstanding
Mhm.
and maybe even more questions that we'll ask at that
Mhm.
meeting. Having it during our regular scheduled board meeting on the 6th of November, I have no visibility as to what's potentially on that agenda.
Strategic plan,
Okay, so it's not like it's,
not a lot of big stuff.
Okay. and I'm thinking maybe about an hour for that discussion, and if we have other questions, but obviously if we need more time, we'll take more time, but that's my thought, as opposed to trying to reschedule a different meeting.
Yeah.
And my thought is for the follow-up to that, we would reschedule or schedule a different meeting to go over the initiatives and then where we land on a budget, because that usually takes a little bit of time, and it could take us a an hour, it could take us 2 hours. And,
So next meeting, just review it again.
well, what we'll do is we've got questions that
Yeah.
have already been asked that we haven't had
Right.
answers to, so we'll go over those answers.
And then come
And
back
then-
another time to
Well,
do
but
the
before
deep
that,
dive.
If somebody else has other questions, we could ask at that meeting and then come back, talk about initiatives and setting the budget, because that takes a while for us too.
When you're looking at, because we're supposed to have the budget the Friday before Thanksgiving. So that's the 22nd.
Yeah.
So when you're looking to have the meeting, the 13th,
I didn't have a date chosen, but I was hoping to do it sometime between the 6th and my math is right, the 20th, right?
Oh.
And how many days do you need for it so that you can, now, they need it the 22nd of November? I thought we were meeting with them in December,
Yep, we meet with them after the Thanksgiving break.
which is the 28th of
Yep.
Thanksgiving.
I always try to shoot to get it. So we always tell them we're gonna get it to them before Thanksgiving. I always shoot for the Friday before.
Okay. So that would be the 29th of November.
The Friday before would be the 22nd.
Second.
29th, that's the.
Yeah.
So it would,
How that math works, yeah.
it would depend on what kind of changes that you guys make between the 6th and the 20th.
Okay.
If you're only making a couple of changes, it won't affect my work too much, but if like,
Have you seen us in action?
yes.
I so.
But I mean, I also,
Set on the 13th per Joe's big question, that would work for the SAU. Will it work for the board then? 13th at 6? It works for me. I just,
13th looks okay.
that's a Wednesday. You okay with that, Tony?
Yeah, it works for me.
Okay. And Cindy, yeah. Okay, add it to the list.
All I have to do is this.
All right. Anything else from anybody? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor? Aye.